I woke up in a world ruled by women, where men were not treated like men. They were treated like prizes. Protected prizes. Polished prizes. Beautiful little trophies everyone wanted to dress, manage, escort, buy, or cage, then call it love. And the body I woke up in was apparently one of the most wanted prizes in the whole city. I did not know that yet. All I knew was that I opened my eyes in a bedroom I had never seen, with a face in the mirror that was too pretty to be trusted, and a woman standing in the doorway with a silver makeup case. She smiled like the decision had already been made. Mr. Corbin scheduled your beauty appointment. Sit still, Jace. This will only take an hour. 30 seconds earlier, I had not even known my new name, but my hand was already around her wrist. Appointment's cancelled, I said. Her smile died like I had slapped her. That was the first thing this world taught me. A woman could walk into a grown man's bedroom, tell him to sit still and think she was helping. But if a man said no, somehow he became the problem. I thought refusing makeup was a small thing. I was wrong. That one refusal was the first crack in a world that wanted me soft, safe, obedient, and easy to own. Before the city finished learning my name, women would be filming me in the street. A billionaire would try to put me under contract. A lonely heiress would offer me a fortress. A doctor would turn home itself into a cage, and a red moon goddess would mark my wrist like I was part of her game. Worse, I would learn the body I woke up in might not have been empty. And if I failed, this world would not just control me, it would finish turning both of us into the perfect prize. She tugged once. I let go before I hurt her. I was angry, not stupid. My new body shook from the movement, and that made me angrier. The old me had worked with his hands. The old me had carried weight, taken hits, opened stuck doors, and never thought twice about his own shoulders. This body was tall, lean, smooth-skinned, and expensive-looking in a way that made me want to punch the mirror. The robe hanging off me looked like something a rich widow would buy for a pet actor. My hair had been styled into soft layers, my lips had color without needing any. Even half panicked and barefoot, I looked like the kind of man this world wanted to wrap in tissue paper. The woman at the door recovered first. Jace, please don't be difficult. Your father said the institute orientation is tomorrow. You have to look presentable. Presentable to who? She blinked. To everyone. That answer told me more than a lecture would have. I shut the bedroom door in her face and locked it. For a few seconds, I just stood there breathing. There was a phone on the nightstand. The screen opened to my thumb like it belonged to me. Jace Corbin, 23, Brighton Cove, Hudson Ridge Business Institute orientation. Dozens of old photos of this body smiling gently beside people I did not know. I knew my own mind. I knew my old life had not been a dream. I knew I had gone to sleep under a red moon that should not have been red. I did not know why my reflection looked like it should be on a perfume ad. A knock hit the door. Jace, a man's voice called. Are you all right? I found plain clothes in the closet after digging past silk shirts, soft cardigans, and pants cut like they were afraid of work. The plainest black shirt still fit like somebody had designed it to make trouble. I put it on anyway, dragged on jeans, and opened the door. Mr. Corbin stood in the hall with worry on his face and a coffee mug in his hand. He looked like an ordinary father. Tired eyes, house shoes, and the kind of helpless concern that made anger harder to hold. Behind him, the beauty consultant stared at my shirt like I had come out wearing a threat. Mr. Corbin said, You scared her. She came into my room with a brush. For your appointment. I don't have one anymore. The beauty consultant made a tiny shocked sound. Mr. Corbin rubbed his forehead. Jace, tomorrow matters. Hudson Ridge Business Institute is full of aggressive people. The women there don't leave boys alone when they look rough. Let the consultants soften your appearance. That was the second lesson. In this world, making a man look softer was considered protection. Where I came from, that was what you did before selling a thing in a glass case. I asked Mr. Corbin, do I look like I need softening? The beauty consultant answered before he could. You look gorgeous, but that is exactly the problem. If you appear bold, women will think you are inviting attention. I stared at her. Mr. Corbin winced because he heard the explosion before I spoke. So the solution is to make me look helpless? The solution, the consultant said carefully, is to look respectable. Respectable is not the same as helpless. For men, it often is. I laughed once. It came out sharp. The consultant stepped back. Mr. Corbin lowered his mug. Somewhere downstairs, a doorbell rang. Mr. Corbin said, That should be Eli. I asked him to help you today. Help me do what? Shop. Calm down. Get ready. He understands how things work. I did not know Eli Camden yet. I only knew any man my father trusted to teach me how to be soft was about to have a bad morning. Eli arrived in a pale jacket, neat hair, and shoes too clean to trust. He carried 2 shopping bags and a look of heroic panic. The moment he saw me, his eyes went wide. Jace, Eli said, lowering his voice like the walls had ears. Why are you dressed like a divorced gym teacher? I looked down at my black shirt. Good, it improved. Eli turned to Mr. Corbin. Did he hit his head again? Again. I filed that word away. My new life already had holes in it, and I did not have time to fall through all of them. Mr. Corbin sighed. Just take him somewhere safe. No clubs, no rough blocks, no political rallies, no weight rooms without female staff, and please keep him away from anyone filming. Eli gave him a wounded look. Sir, I am literally the safest man you know. I once apologized to a vending machine. That's why I called you. I took the shopping bags out of Eli's hands and dropped them by the stairs. Eli stared at the bags. Those have coordinated outfits. They had a short life. The beauty consultant finally found her courage again. Jace, your jawline is already too severe today. At least let me soften your eyebrows. I stepped around her and headed for the front door. Eli scrambled after me. Where are we going? Somewhere with clippers. For hair? For dignity. He made a sound like a kettle dying. Jace, men don't just get harsh haircuts without a consult. People will stare. I opened the door. Morning light hit my face. Somewhere across the street, a woman walking a dog stopped so hard the dog kept going and yanked her arm straight. She looked me up and down. Her mouth opened. Eli grabbed my sleeve. See? Staring. Immediate staring. We should go back inside. I pulled my sleeve free. She can blink. The woman heard that and turned bright red. A delivery driver slowed her van. A jogger missed a step. Two women at the curb looked at me, then at each other, like they had both found money and were trying to decide who would steal it first. My face was not just a face here, it was a flare gun. Eli shoved a cap into my chest. Put this on. I threw it back to him. No, Jace, pretty boys who act bold get followed. Then we walk faster. That is not a safety plan, it is a fitness plan. He followed me anyway, muttering prayers to every insurance policy he knew. A woman leaving a coffee shop paused. Her eyes moved from my face to my mouth to my shirt. Are you lost? No. Is your escort nearby? I pointed at Eli. Unfortunately. Eli gave her a fragile smile. He's joking. We are totally safe and emotionally managed. I am not emotionally managed, I said. The woman leaned closer. That is adorable. I took one step back. Do not call me adorable. Her smile widened. That was the third lesson. In this world, anger from a man did not warn some women off. It made them hungry. I grabbed Eli by the shoulder and steered him down the block. Tattoo place, fight place, barbershop, pick one. None of those are on the approved list. Then today is a historic day for the list. Eli tried to plant his feet. My new body was weaker than I wanted, but Eli weighed less than his shopping bags. I dragged him until he gave up and fast walked beside me. Jace, people are filming. Let them. You hate being filmed. I looked at him. Do I? Eli's expression changed. The panic softened into something more careful. You used to, he said. I did not answer. That old Jace had left fingerprints all over my life. Gentle photos, soft clothes, polite messages, a father who worried too easily, and a best friend who kept watching me like I might crack. I did not know where that man had gone. I only knew I was standing in his place, and this world was already reaching for my throat with manicured hands. The tattoo and fight studio sat between a supplement shop and a salon. It had no approved name on Eli's imaginary safety list, which instantly improved it. A heavy bag hung in the front window. A woman behind the counter looked up, saw me, and forgot how pens worked. The pen rolled off the desk. Eli whispered, "We can still leave." I walked to the counter. I need a haircut, hand wraps, and someone to show me what this body can do. The woman blinked. This body. Mine. Sadly. A laugh came from the training mat. The instructor was tall, broad-shouldered, and built like she enjoyed telling men no. She had a towel around her neck and amusement all over her face. Men don't train hard here without clearance, the instructor said, especially not pretty ones who might bruise. The women on the mats looked over. One whispered, "Pretty ones? He's insane if he thinks he's only pretty." Eli covered his eyes with one hand. I faced the instructor. "I didn't ask for your romance policy, I asked for training." Her grin sharpened. "Careful, if you talk like that, someone might think you want to be handled." There it was, the overreach. In my old world, an insult like that came before a shove. Here it came wrapped in a smile and permission to treat me like a decorative challenge. I stepped past the counter. Eli hissed, "Jace, no." The instructor blocked the mat with one arm. "You need a guardian signature. I'm 23. You need a safety sponsor. I need a heavy bag. You need manners." I looked at the bag behind her. "Move." The room got too quiet. Not silent. Quiet in the useful way. The kind that meant everyone had formed a prediction and now wanted to see who looked stupid. The instructor folded her arms. "Show me one push-up without shaking, gorgeous, and I'll think about it." A few women laughed. Eli whispered, "Please do not accept weird public fitness dares from strangers." I dropped to the mat. My arms hated me immediately. The first push-up was ugly. The second made my shoulders tremble. On the third, the instructor's smile came back. On the fourth, someone behind me made an amused sound. That should have embarrassed me. Instead, it made the old part of me wake up. I did the 5th slowly, then the 6th. My arms burned like wet rope. Sweat hit the mat. My hair fell in my eyes. I heard one laugh die, then another. On the 10th push-up, my body tried to quit. I did one more out of spite. When I stood, my arms shook hard enough to humiliate a statue. I pointed at the heavy bag. Now the bag. The instructor's eyes had changed. She was still amused, but not in the same way. You really did hit your head, didn't you? Feels like I landed in a whole country that did. That line got a reaction. A woman near the mats choked on her water. Another covered her mouth. The instructor stepped aside, not because I had beaten her, but because I had made the room choose between laughing at me and watching me. Watching one, I hit the bag. The first punch slapped instead of cracked. My wrist folded wrong. Pain snapped up my arm. Eli rushed forward. That's enough. I shook him off and hit it again. The second punch was better. The third made the bag move. Not much. Enough. The instructor caught the bag, and her voice changed. She spoke like I was a person, not a display case. Your wrist is garbage, she said. Your stance is worse, but your eyes are not. My eyes don't pay you, my money will, the counterwoman whispered. He has money? I did not, at least not money I understood yet, but bluffing had carried worse men through worse doors. Eli, traitor that he was, opened his mouth. I pointed at him before he could expose me. Don't! He shut it. The instructor laughed. This time the sound was clean. Fine, 30 minutes, no sparring, no shirtless nonsense. If you faint, your friend carries you. If I faint, drag me to the clippers first. That made the room laugh with me instead of at me. It was small, petty, stupid. It was also the first inch of ground I took back. 30 minutes later, my hands were wrapped, my shirt stuck to my back, and the instructor had stopped calling me gorgeous. She called me stubborn, which I preferred. The counterwoman brought clippers from the salon side. Eli stood beside me like a man watching a funeral. Jace, he said, your hair is one of your safest assets. Then it is a hostage. Cut it. The counterwoman hesitated. Short hair can make your bone structure look more severe. Good. Some women find severe men provoking. Excellent. Eli made a strangled noise. That is not excellent. That is a threat assessment. I looked at him through the mirror. I would rather fight the mirror than let strangers make me pretty. The counterwoman froze with the clippers in her hand. The instructor leaned against the wall and smiled like she had just found a new bad habit. Cut it, she told the counterwoman, before he starts a revolution over conditioner. The first strip of soft hair fell onto the cape. Eli groaned. A woman outside the window stopped walking. Then another. By the time the clippers had stripped the softness off the sides, there were 6 women pretending not to stare through the glass. The ridiculous part was that the haircut did not make me less attractive. It made the problem sharper. My face lost the gentle frame and turned dangerous in a clean, cold way. My eyes looked less like they belonged in a beauty ad and more like they were deciding where to bury the ad agency. Even I paused. Eli whispered, "Oh no, what? You made it worse." The instructor laughed so hard she had to turn away. The counterwoman set the clippers down with both hands. "You look careful," I said. She swallowed the word. Outside, someone lifted a phone. I stood, took the cape off myself and tossed it onto the chair. Hand wraps, training schedule, price. The instructor named a number. It was stupid. I paid with a card from Jace Corbin's wallet and hoped this body had better credit than biceps. The payment went through. That little beep felt better than the mirror. Eli watched my signature on the waiver. Your handwriting changed. I capped the pen. So did my mood. He took the answer, but his face said he had stored the question. By late afternoon, the studio had given me 2 things, sore arms and a public problem. Clips of me were already bouncing between phones. Eli showed me 3 comments, then took the phone back when my face changed. People think you're bold, he said. Good. No, Jace. Bold is not always a compliment for men. Some women think it means you need to be tamed. They can start a waiting list. His horror almost made me smile. Then a cramp hit my forearm so hard I had to flex my hand under the cafe table. Weak body, hard world, pretty face, bad rules. I had won a haircut, not a war. A woman at the next table watched my hand move. Do you need help with that? No. You sure? Eli answered before I did. He is sure. He is also tired and making choices as performance art. The woman looked disappointed. Eli leaned closer. Can you please stop sounding like you want to be kidnapped? Can this country stop treating no like flirting? He opened his mouth, then closed it. For once, he had nothing cute to say. We went back to the Corbin Keene house at sunset. Mr. Corbin met us at the door. His face did something complicated when he saw the haircut. Relief because I was alive. Fear because I was different. Grief, maybe, because whatever he thought had happened to his son was getting harder to deny. Jace, Mr. Corbin said softly. What did you do? Canceled the appointment. I can see that. Got training. I can also see that you can barely lift your arms. Temporary. He looked past me to Eli. Eli raised both hands. I tried. He has become a blunt object with cheekbones. Mr. Corbin did not laugh. That made the hallway feel smaller. Nora called from Cedar Row Medical Center, he said. She heard a clip was going around. She wants you home tonight. No wandering. Nora Keene. Mr. Corbin's stepdaughter. Another name from this life. Another person who had a claim before I had answers. I am home, I said. Mr. Corbin's eyes moved over my face. Are you? The question hit harder than the heavy bag. I could have lied. I almost did. I said, I'm trying to be. That answer hurt him less than the truth and more than a lie. He stepped aside. I slept badly. The room was too soft. The sheets smelled expensive. The mirror kept catching moonlight and throwing that beautiful stranger back at me. My forearms throbbed. The haircut made my face feel exposed. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw red light behind the dark. Near midnight, the temperature dropped. The window was closed. The air still moved. Red light spilled across the floor like water. I sat up. The moon outside was wrong again, bigger than it should have been, red enough to stain the glass. The mark appeared on my wrist before I felt pain, a thin crescent under the skin, glowing as if someone had pressed hot metal into me from the inside. I clamped my other hand over it. A woman laughed from the mirror. Not the beauty consultant. Not a woman from the street. Not anyone human enough to bother with doors. The red moon goddess looked out at me through my own reflection. She wore no crown I could name, and needed none. Her eyes were the same red as the moon, amused in a way that made my anger feel like a toy she had set on a table. Jace Corbin, she said. My name in her mouth sounded borrowed. I stood slowly. You did this. I opened the door. You walked through it. Put me back, she smiled. So direct. The man who wore that face rarely used commands. Cold moved through my chest. What happened before I woke up? The goddess tilted her head. Careful. You are not ready for all your questions. You survived one haircut. I stepped closer to the mirror. Answer 1. Why am I here? The crescent on my wrist burned brighter. Because this world devours men who surrender, the red moon goddess said. It dresses them, escorts them, protects them, praises them, buys them, cages them, and calls the cage love. You arrived with a useful defect. You still remember how to refuse. That is not a reason. It is a wager. I hated how pleased she sounded. She lifted one finger. The mirror changed. For a second, I saw myself with longer hair again, softer eyes, a practiced smile, surrounded by hands fixing my collar, feeding me tiny bites, guiding my wrist when I tried to sign something. My mouth moved in the reflection, but no sound came out. Then the image vanished. Fail, the goddess said, and the world will finish what it has already begun. Your anger will dull, your hunger will shrink, your voice will learn to ask permission. You will become the man this body was expected to be. My wrist burned until I almost swore. And if I win? Become a real man here, not in memory, not in slogans, in this world, under these rules, while every reward begs you to kneel. Do that and the door may open again. May? Her smile widened. I pointed at the mirror. I don't play games with rigged rules. Everyone plays. Most men here just call it manners. The cheap shot landed because the day had already proved it. I flexed my sore hand. What counts is becoming a real man. Choice under pressure, she said. Agency when being owned is easier. Strength when your body shakes. Refusal when the cage is comfortable. Protection without surrender. Desire without becoming property. That was almost an answer. Almost. And the life I woke into? Her amusement cooled. Earn that question later. The mirror went black. The room warmed again. The mark on my wrist faded to a red crescent under the skin. Not a tattoo. A claim. A warning. I stood in the dark, breathing through pain and rage, and understood only one useful thing. The haircut had not been rebellion. It had been the opening bell. My phone buzzed. Eli had sent the campus schedule for the next morning, followed by another warning. Please, for basic survival, do not act weird at Hudson Ridge Business Institute. I looked at the red moon mark on my wrist. Then I typed back, define weird. The reply came instantly. Anything you think is normal. By dawn, the soreness had spread from my arms into my ribs, the beauty appointment was dead, the goddess had marked me as a player in her game, and Hudson Ridge Business Institute was about to meet the changed Jace before I understood even half the rules. Hudson Ridge Business Institute met the changed Jace Corbin at breakfast, and the first weapon it used against me was a sealed protein drink. I stood outside the campus cafe with Eli beside me, a red crescent hidden under my sleeve, and a bottle cap that refused to move. The cap had one of those safety seals that mocked weak hands. In my old body, I would have cracked it open without noticing. In this one, my wrist complained from yesterday's bag work, my fingers slipped, and the bottle stayed closed. A woman in a blazer saw me struggle, then another. Then 3 more. By the time I tightened my grip for a second try, I had a small rescue team. Do you need help? The first woman asked. No. You sure? That's a tough seal. It's plastic, not a bank vault. Eli made a tiny dying sound beside me. Jace. The second woman held out her hand. Let me. Men can hurt their wrists on those. I looked at my wrapped knuckles. That would be embarrassing for the bottle. The third woman laughed too warmly. He's feisty. I stopped twisting the cap and stared at her. She smiled wider because apparently warning signs in this country were treated like decorations. Eli stepped between us with the soft desperation of a man who had prevented disasters before. He means thank you, but he is practicing independence. I mean move, I said. The first woman actually moved. Small win. I braced the bottle against the edge of a metal table and twisted again. Pain bit through my wrist. The seal snapped. The cap came loose so suddenly that protein drink splashed across my shirt. The crowd made a sympathetic noise. I raised the bottle. Dead, Eli whispered. You just threatened a beverage in public. It started it. A woman filming near the cafe lowered her phone like she was not sure whether to laugh or ask for my number. Another woman behind her did laugh, and that gave permission for the whole little crowd to enjoy me instead of pity me. That was the first useful campus rule I learned. If I could not stop them from staring, I could at least choose the reason. Hudson Ridge Business Institute looked like money had gone to college and learned to network. Glass halls, clean lawns, branded banners, women striding between buildings with tablets and coffee, men walking carefully in soft jackets that made them look like sponsored candles. Every bench had a cluster of watchers. Every window reflected my face back at me like the place was trying to remind me what kind of trouble I carried. Eli walked close enough to block one side of me. You're doing the stare thing, I said. I am scanning for threats. You look like a nervous purse dog. Purse dogs survive because people pick them up and run. A pair of women heard that and laughed. One looked me over, then looked at Eli. Is he yours? She asked Eli. Eli's soul left his body. I answered before he could choke. No one owns me. The laugh died in the woman's throat. Good. Then her interest sharpened. Bad. Eli grabbed my elbow and steered me through the cafe doors. We are going to class. You are going to sit. You are going to observe. You are not going to declare independence from social structure before lunch. No promises. The morning session was a soft prison disguised as orientation. A campus coordinator explained safety escorts, male wellness rooms, grooming expectations for public-facing programs, and the importance of not encouraging aggressive attention. She said encourage while looking at my haircut. I raised my hand once. Eli slapped my wrist down before the coordinator could call on me. What? I whispered. You were about to ask if women here are legally allowed to mind their business. I had been, which proved Eli was more observant than his jacket suggested. The coordinator kept talking. I kept watching. The men around me took notes on how to exit campus parties, how to report unwanted gifts, and how to choose colors that suggested calm availability without romantic invitation. The women in the room took notes too, but theirs were on investment clubs, sponsor meetings, leadership panels, and competitive internships. The inversion did not need a history lesson. It sat in the seating chart. At the end, the coordinator held out a blue campus ribbon with a little safety charm clipped to it. She offered it to me the way a nurse offers candy to a child after a shot. New male students wear these during the first week, she said. It tells the campus aides to keep an eye on you. I looked at the ribbon. Then I looked at the women near the door who had already noticed it. Keep an eye on me for what? The coordinator's smile stayed professional. Unwanted attention, emotional fatigue, directional confusion. I know how doors work. Eli leaned close. The ribbon is normal, so was the bottle rescue squad. Normal is losing value fast. The coordinator lowered her voice. Jace, refusing support can be read as provocative. Everything I do gets read as provocative. I opened a drink and half the campus prepared a rescue mission. A few students laughed. The coordinator did not. She tried to clip the ribbon to my bag herself. I caught the ribbon before it touched the strap. Not her hand, not rough, just the ribbon. The room watched the little blue strip hang between us like it was a contract. No, I said. The coordinator's face tightened. This is for your protection. Then protect my answer. That line made one of the male students look up from his notes. He did not smile. He did something better. He took the ribbon off his own bag and folded it into his pocket. The coordinator saw him do it. So did 3 women by the wall. Now my refusal had consequence. Eli whispered, "You are contagious." Good. The coordinator put my ribbon back in the tray with slow fingers. She did not argue again. She did not have to. The look she gave me said I had turned myself into a campus problem before lunch. Fine, if they wanted a problem, I could at least make it well fed. When the coordinator released us for lunch, I was starving. Eli saw my face and went pale. Before you decide anything, men usually eat light here. Why? Because heavy eating reads as, he searched for a safe word. I helped him. Human, crude, attention-seeking, sometimes aggressive. Food is aggressive now? Large portions are. I looked toward the cafeteria line. A woman passed with a tray that could have fed a construction crew. Behind her, a man carried a salad so small it looked like garnish with anxiety. My stomach made the decision for me. The elite cafeteria at Hudson Ridge Business Institute had polished counters, glass cases, and prices that belonged in court. Men clustered near the smoothie bar. Women lined up for hot food, protein bowls, grilled meat, and thick sandwiches. The servers smiled at women and gently guided men toward lighter options. The server looked at me. The citrus bowl is popular today, very clean. I want the steak sandwich, eggs, potatoes, soup, and that pie. She paused. All together, unless the pie needs privacy. A woman in line behind me coughed into her fist. The server glanced at Eli. Eli lifted both hands. I don't control him, I have accepted that spiritually. The server loaded the tray with the solemn focus of somebody preparing evidence. By the time she set the pie beside the soup, phones were already tilting. I paid with Jace Corbin's card. Another beep, another small mercy. Eli looked at the tray. That is not lunch. That is a public statement. Good. I was low on statements. We took a table near the middle because hiding in a corner would have made the tray look guilty. I sat, rolled my sleeves just enough to free my wrists, and started eating. The first bite almost made me forgive the world. Almost. Whispers gathered. Some women smiled like they were watching a forbidden show. A few men looked horrified. One sent Eli a sympathy look. Eli stabbed at his tiny bowl and pretended he was not associated with me. Then, Rex Malloy arrived. I knew his name because 3 people said it before he reached the table. Rex moved like a man followed by his own camera angle. Good hair. Perfect skin. A soft cream jacket. A phone in one hand already recording for his campus audience. He was pretty in the approved way, which meant the world treated his softness as status and my appetite as misconduct. He stopped across from me. Jace Corbin, Rex said loudly enough for the surrounding tables to hear. I almost didn't recognize you without the helpless act, Eli muttered. Please don't. I took another bite. Rex's smile tightened because I made him wait while chewing. That mattered. People like Rex fed on instant reaction. Starving them was free. He lifted his phone. Everyone is asking what happened to you. New haircut. New attitude. Now this. He tilted the camera toward my tray. Are you trying to prove something, or did you just forget men have dignity? A few women laughed. Not many. Rex heard the weak response and doubled down. Careful, he said. Women like novelty, but crude men get passed around as jokes. You should know your lane before you embarrass yourself. The table went still. Good. A clean insult, a clean audience, a clean prediction. I put my sandwich down. Eli whispered, Jace, campus reputation matters. Exactly. I looked at Rex's phone first, then at Rex. Rex, I said, making sure his audience heard his name. Being jealous of my appetite is not a personality. The first laugh came from somewhere behind him. Rex's face twitched. I pointed at his tiny drink. And if that smoothie is the source of your confidence, ask for a refund. The cafeteria cracked. Not fully, not yet, but enough that Rex's phone dipped half an inch. He recovered fast. Mocking me won't make you masculine, it just makes you desperate for attention. No, I said, eating lunch makes me full. You turning it into a live event makes you desperate for content. A woman near the salad bar lowered her phone and laughed openly. Another whispered, he's not wrong. Rex's mouth flattened, his softness turned sharp around the edges. You think this is funny? Rex asked me. Hudson Ridge Business Institute has standards. Men who act like you don't last. Men who act like me open their own bottles. It is a dangerous movement. More laughter. Eli bent over his bowl like he wanted to crawl into it. Rex's eyes cut toward him. Eli, you should put your friend on a leash before someone else does. That killed the humor in me. I stood. The room's mood shifted because even in this weak body, standing changed the math. Rex was not much shorter than me, but he had built his status on being admired, not challenged. His phone was still up. His audience was still watching. His mistake was thinking I would protect his pride because we were both men in a world that watched men too closely. I leaned just enough for him to hear me without losing the crowd. Say that about Eli again, I told him, and I will make your next post an apology. Eli looked up. Rex swallowed once. The crowd caught it. That tiny throat movement did more damage than a punch. Rex tried to smile through it. Threats now? Prediction. A quiet voice spoke from the table behind Rex. He did ask for it. Everyone turned. Ava Lynn sat alone with a small bowl of soup, a notebook, and a silver ring on her right hand. I had noticed her earlier because she was the only person in the cafeteria not performing for anyone. Dark hair, calm face, eyes that looked tired of people deciding she was harmless. Rex looked annoyed before he recognized her. Then the annoyance drained out. Ava did not raise her voice. She did not need to. Rex, Ava said, you pointed a camera at his lunch, insulted him, and dragged Eli into it. If your audience wanted dignity, you should have started with some. The silver ring caught the cafeteria lights. 3 women at Rex's side noticed it and immediately stopped smiling. One lowered her phone. Another looked away like Ava's ring had reminded her of a bill she could not pay. I did not know Ava yet. I did not know what that ring meant. I only knew Rex knew, and that made it useful. Rex forced a laugh. Ava, I didn't realize you were listening. You were loud! The room laughed again, sharper this time. Rex's audience was turning. You could feel it. Phones that had been pointed at me shifted toward him. His own live angle had become a trap he built for himself. He tried one more time, because men like Rex could smell defeat but not always recognize gravity. Fine, he said, aiming the phone back at me. Enjoy the act, Jace. It won't be cute when everyone gets tired of it. I picked up my sandwich. Good, I said. Cute was never the plan. The cafeteria gave me the sound I wanted, not wild cheering, not fake shock, but a clean wave of laughter that made Rex stand there with his phone up and no winning line left. He ended the stream. The moment his screen went black, the cafeteria changed sides in pieces. A woman who had been laughing with him turned her chair away. One of his own followers asked under her breath if the clip was still saved. A male student at the smoothie bar lifted his full sandwich from under a napkin and took a bite like he was committing a felony. Rex saw that too. That tiny bite made him look more offended than anything I had said. In a place like this, rebellion sometimes started with bread. Nobody saluted it, but everyone saw it, and seeing it made them choose sides. Rex did not look beaten forever. Men like him could turn a bruise into a brand strategy by dessert. But for one lunch, in front of his own audience, he had lost the room. The room made him pay immediately. 2 women approached my table before I could finish the sandwich. One asked if I needed help navigating campus. Another offered to show me a better training facility. A third asked Eli if I was single, as if I were a couch he had listed online. Eli snapped, "He is eating!" The third woman actually apologized to Eli, which was so backward I almost laughed with a full mouth. Ava stayed seated behind Rex's abandoned battlefield. She did not join the swarm. That made her more interesting than all of them. When the women finally thinned out, I turned enough to face her. "Thanks," I said. Ava looked surprised by the word. "You were winning. You made him lose faster." Her mouth curved, barely. "Rex hates efficient people." Eli leaned in and whispered, "That is Ava Lind. Be normal." I looked at him. Why does everyone keep asking for miracles? Ava heard that. Her small smile came back and almost became real. I nodded at the ring. That scared them. Ava's fingers curled once, covering it. "Some names make people careful. Sounds expensive." "Sometimes," she said it without pride. More like a weight she had learned to carry quietly. Rex, who had retreated 2 tables away, watched Ava speak to me. His expression had gone from public charm to private poison. He caught me looking and smiled like the next round had already begun. Good. Let him plan. Villains who plan angry usually make better mistakes. Eli followed my gaze and tensed. "Do not start another thing." I didn't start the first one. "You ordered pie as an act of war. The pie is innocent." Ava looked at the pie. "Is it good?" I slid the plate toward her without thinking. "Try it." Eli stared at me like I had handed her a weapon. Ava stared at the plate for longer than pie deserved. "You don't have to," I said. "I know." She picked up the fork, took one small bite, and blinked. "It is good." The tiny softness in her voice did something strange to the table. Not romance. Not yet. Something quieter, like a locked door clicking once. Then Tara Bellamy dropped into the chair beside Eli without permission and blew the whole mood apart. "So," Tara said, grinning at me, "are you always this suicidal before dessert, or is Rex special?" Eli groaned. "Tara, please do not encourage him." Tara leaned toward me. "Encouragement is free, bail is not, remember that." I liked her immediately and trusted her not at all. Ava's smile vanished back behind her calm face. The ring disappeared under her hand again. Tara noticed. Her grin softened. "Ava, you going tonight?" Ava looked down at the pie, then at me. "I was planning to." "To what?" I asked. Tara answered first. "Campus charity horror maze. Donors pay, students scream, sponsors pretend fear builds community. Very Hudson Ridge Business Institute." Eli shook his head. "No, absolutely not. Dark hallways, people grabbing, cameras everywhere. He is not going." "He can decide," Ava said. Her voice was quiet, but it cut through Eli's panic cleanly. I looked at her. "Are you inviting me?" Ava's fingers tightened around the fork. Only if you want to come. That line was the first thing I heard all day that did not try to manage me. Not you should, not you need, not be careful, be softer, be presentable, be respectable, just if you want. I did not know Ava Lind. I did not know why her family ring made people lower their phones. I did not know why she sat alone in a crowded cafeteria like she had forgotten how to be included, but I knew a clean invitation when I heard one. I'll come, I said. Eli slapped both hands on the table. You do not even like horror mazes. I like choices. Ava's eyes lifted to mine. Across the cafeteria, Rex watched us with his phone face down and his smile rebuilt too carefully. Rex had lost the room. Ava had chosen a side in public. I had eaten like a man instead of apologizing for having a stomach. Now the pressure changed. Ava's invitation turned one cafeteria win into a night event with cameras, dark rooms, sponsors, and a quiet heiress whose name made bullies careful. Eli looked at me with pure betrayal. I am coming too. Good, I said. You can apologize to the props. He pointed at my tray. Finish your war pie. We are going to need energy for whatever terrible decision you just made. I ate the last bite while Rex pretended not to stare, and Ava folded her napkin into a perfect square. By sunset, the campus had already clipped my lunch into a dozen angles. By night, Ava Lynn's invitation was sitting on my phone with a time, a campus gate, and one plain message. Come only if you want. The red moon mark under my sleeve pulsed once, as if the goddess had laughed at the word, want. Ava Lynn's invitation looked harmless until I saw the first waiver table outside the campus horror maze. 4 women in black shirts stood behind it with clipboards. One of them offered Eli a glow bracelet, a panic button, and a laminated card titled, Male Participant Comfort Rules. She offered me the same bundle with both hands, like I might break if she used one. I took the panic button, turned it over, and handed it back. If I panic, I said, everyone will hear it. Eli grabbed the bracelet before I could refuse that too. He means thank you. No, I said, he doesn't. The woman at the table stared, a camera phone lifted somewhere behind us. The red moon mark under my sleeve warmed, not enough to hurt, just enough to remind me that the goddess enjoyed bad decisions with witnesses. The charity horror maze had been built inside a closed wing of Hudson Ridge Business Institute. Black curtains swallowed the hallway. Fake fog rolled across the floor. Donor signs hung on the walls beside warning labels. The whole thing smelled like plastic blood, expensive speakers, and student fear. Tara Bellamy waved at us from the entrance line. You came. Great. Eli, you look like you saw your tuition bill. Eli held up the glow bracelet. This event has waivers for a reason. Everything has waivers now, Tara said. That's how fun survives lawyers. Ava stood beside her, quiet as ever, hands folded around a small flashlight. Her silver ring caught the red light over the entrance. People made space around her without being told. That ring was not jewelry to them. It was a fence. When she saw me, she looked at my sleeve first. Your wrist, Ava said, from yesterday. I pulled the cuff lower over the red moon mark. Training. That was not a lie, it just left out the god in the mirror. Ava nodded once. She did not push. That made me trust her more than I should have. Eli looked between us. Before we enter, I would like to state that I oppose this group activity on spiritual, legal, and cardiovascular grounds. Noted, I said. Tara clapped him on the shoulder. Stick near me. If anything jumps out, I will throw you at it. Eli stared at her. That is the least comforting offer I have ever received. A horn sounded inside the maze. The line moved. Women cheered. Men clutched glow bracelets. A sponsor camera swept across the entrance and lingered on my face too long. I stared straight into the lens. The camera operator lowered it first. Small win. Public. Petty. Worth it. Ava's mouth twitched like she had almost smiled. Inside, the maze was better than I expected and worse than Eli deserved. The first hallway flickered with red emergency lights. A fake corpse dropped from the ceiling. Eli apologized to it. Tara laughed so hard she walked into a wall panel. Ava did not laugh. She walked behind us with her shoulders tight, scanning corners before we reached them. Not scared in the loud way. Scared in the quiet way that made no demands and accepted no comfort. A woman dressed as a monster lunged from behind a curtain and roared at Eli. Eli screamed, I respect your craft. The monster broke character and snorted. Tara had to grab the wall. I laughed despite myself. Ava flinched at the sound, then looked surprised that I could laugh. It hit me then that she had probably seen plenty of people perform around her family name, but not many people relax around it. The maze tightened after that. One sign pointed toward a mild route. The other pointed toward a challenge route with more fog, more actors, and a rule that pairs had to stay together. Eli pointed at the mild route. That one. We are mild people. Speak for yourself, Tara said. Ava stared at the challenge sign a second too long. You want to go that way? I asked her. She shook her head too quickly. No, that was an answer. it was also not the truth. Before I could ask again, a group of women behind us started whispering, "Is that Ava Lind? Why is she here? Who is the guy with her? The cafeteria guy, the bold one?" The words bold one moved through the fog and found me like a thrown hook. Eli muttered, "Your brand is developing without consent. Then it has something in common with this country." The women heard me. One laughed, another stepped closer. Ava's hand tightened around her flashlight. I saw it and made the choice before I overthought it. "Challenge route," I said. Eli turned on me. "Absolutely not. You stay with Tara, I'll go with Ava." Ava's eyes snapped to mine. "You don't have to. I know." That made her go still. The same words she had given me at lunch came back to her, and this time she heard the difference. Tara looked between us and lifted both hands. "I support whatever makes Eli funniest." "I am not comic relief," Eli said. A sound effect exploded down the mild route. Eli jumped into Tara's shoulder. Tara patted his head. "Sure." Ava and I entered the challenge route together. The door swung shut behind us with a magnetic click. The maze got darker, the fog thickened, the walls narrowed until my shoulder brushed black fabric on one side and Ava's sleeve brushed my arm on the other. Speakers whispered from hidden corners, something metal scraped ahead of us. Ava breathed through her nose, slow and controlled. "You okay?" I asked. "Yes, that was fast. Try again." She glanced at me. I kept my voice low. "If you want out, we leave. If you want through, we go through. I'm not dragging you either direction." Ava looked ahead into the fog. "People drag when they think they're helping. There was more under that line than I had the right to touch, so I didn't." "Then we walk," I said. "No dragging." We passed the first scare, a woman with white contacts and a fake knife. She jumped out at me. I stepped aside without flinching. Ava flinched hard enough that her shoulder hit the wall. The actor reached toward her. I caught the fake knife wrist and held it still. The actor froze. "Sir, you're not supposed to touch performers." "Then don't grab her. It's part of the scare." "Change the part," Ava whispered. "Jace, I let go before the scene became a problem I could not justify." The actor backed away, annoyed and a little red-faced. Behind us, a sponsor camera blinked from the corner. Great. Another clip waiting to happen. Ava looked at the camera, then at me. "You shouldn't have done that." "Probably. People will talk. People talk when I eat pie. At least this had a wrist involved." Ava stared at me. Then she laughed once, small and startled. That little laugh was worth the coming trouble. We moved deeper. The path forced us through a fake hospital room, then a hallway of hanging sheets, then a prop chapel with red paper moons dangling from the ceiling. The red moons looked cheap, but my wrist burned anyway. I stopped. Ava noticed immediately. "Your wrist again?" "Bad lighting." She did not believe me. She also did not push. A scream came from somewhere ahead. Not Eli's ridiculous scream. Not an actor's. Short. Choked. Real enough to make both of us move. We rounded a corner and found nothing but a prop room half hidden behind a black curtain. The challenge route continued to the left. The curtain trembled. A fog cannon blasted from the left wall, the chapel lights cut out, and an actor lunged between us with both arms spread. "Ava?" I said, because she had been beside me a heartbeat earlier. No answer. I turned. She was gone. The maze noise kept roaring around me, fake screams and fake chains and fake thunder. But the space beside me was suddenly empty. The real problem was not a monster or a jump scare. The quiet girl who made bullies careful had vanished inside a room full of props. I pushed the curtain aside. The prop room was dark except for a red emergency bulb. Costume racks crowded the walls. Plastic masks hung from hooks. A metal storage shelf blocked half the floor. Ava was crouched behind it with both hands over her ears, flashlight dead beside her shoe. She was shaking. Not for show, not to be cute. Not because she wanted rescue, because something in that room had put her back wherever she hated being. I stepped inside and let the curtain fall behind me. "Ava," I said clearly, so she knew it was me. "It's Jace. I'm in the room. I'm not touching you." Her eyes lifted. They were wide, bright, furious with herself. "I know," she whispered. "Good. Then tell me what you need." She swallowed. "Quiet." I turned and yanked the nearest speaker cord from the wall. The prop room went half silent. Ava blinked. I held up the cord. "Quiet!" For a second, she looked like she might laugh again. Then her face crumpled just enough to make me look away. Some people deserved privacy even while being rescued. Outside the curtain, an actor shouted, "Hey, that speaker went out." I shouted back, "Put it on the invoice." Ava pressed both hands over her mouth. That time she did laugh, weak and breathless, but real. I crouched several feet away, giving her the floor between us. "We can stay. We can leave. We can pretend you defeated the room in single combat and need a victory snack. Your call." Ava looked at the dead flashlight. I froze. I noticed. People hate that. People hate taxes too. They keep living. She stared at me like I had spoken a foreign language badly and somehow made it useful. "You're strange," Ava said. "Today? By local standards, yes." Her hands lowered from her face. Most people tell me I'm safe. Are you? She looked around the prop room. No, then most people are lazy. Ava's shoulders dropped half an inch. I offered my hand, palm up, not close enough to touch unless she chose it. No dragging, remember? Ava stared at my hand. Then she put her fingers in my palm. Her grip was cold and careful. I stood slowly and let her stand with me. She took one step, then another. At the curtain, she stopped. Everyone will see, she whispered. Then we give them something boring. Boring? We walk out like we meant to inspect the wiring. She looked at the speaker cord still in my other hand. You stole the wiring, she said. Borrowed it from bad judgment. The laugh that escaped her this time was quiet, but it stayed. We walked out of the prop room together. I did not hold her hand high, I did not carry her, I did not make her a scene. I just walked beside her through the left turn, past the fake chapel, past two confused actors, and through the final door into the exit corridor. The sponsor camera caught us anyway. A woman near the exit glanced at our joined hands and smiled too knowingly. I let go first so Ava could decide what the moment meant. She did not move away. Eli found us 10 seconds later, hair messy, glow bracelet blinking, Tara laughing behind him. Where were you? Eli demanded. We got separated. Tara fought a clown with a tote bag, and the mild route was not mild. Tara lifted the tote bag like a trophy. The clown started it. Ava's hand brushed mine once. Not a grab, a thank you without witnesses. Then a black car rolled up to the curb outside the campus wing. Every staff member at the exit straightened. A woman in a dark suit stepped out. She looked at Ava first, then at me, then at our hands that were no longer touching. Ava Lind, the woman said. Your grandmother's security team is waiting. Eli whispered. Grandmother's what? Ava's face went smooth, almost blank. I asked them not to come inside. They were concerned when your tracker stopped moving. Tracker. Ava's thumb brushed the silver ring before she caught herself and lowered her hand. Ava's eyes flicked to me. Shame, fast and visible, crossed her face before she buried it. I did not comment. I knew what it felt like to wake up and find out your body came with management. The suited woman opened the car door. We should return to Willowmere Estate. That name changed the air. Tara stopped smiling. Eli's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again with no sound in it. People near the exit pretended not to listen harder. Ava looked at me. You don't have to come, she said. Eli made a frantic slicing motion at his throat. I ignored him. Do you want me to? Ava answered after one long breath. Yes, clean invitation, clean choice, dangerous consequence. I got in the car. Eli got in behind me because loyalty sometimes looked like terror in nice shoes. Tara stayed at the curb, grinning like she had just watched 3 episodes at once. The drive to Willowmere Estate did not take long, but the world changed along the road. Campus lights gave way to tall gates, old trees, long stone walls, and cameras tucked where only a paranoid person would look. I looked. The driver noticed in the mirror and quickly looked away. Eli leaned toward me. Please tell me you understand that this is not a normal after-party. I noticed the wall. The wall has cameras. I noticed those too. Ava sat across from us, hands folded. You notice a lot. Hard habit to kill. She looked like she wanted to ask what had made the habit. She did not. Another point in her favor. The gates opened without anyone touching them. Willowmere Estate rose beyond them like money had gotten lonely and built itself a fortress. Wide steps, white stone, windows glowing warm across 3 floors. A private pool reflected the moon behind the house. Security moved at the edges of the light, visible enough to warn outsiders and quiet enough to pretend this was normal. Eli whispered. I apologize to every rich person I ever called dramatic. Ava heard him. You can say it louder. The house already knows. That was the first joke she made on purpose. Inside, staff took Ava's coat and tried to take mine. I kept it. The house manager looked at my wrapped hands and cut hair, then at Ava. Should I prepare the west sitting room? No, Ava said. The gallery. The house manager's face did the smallest possible panic. General Marjorie Lind may prefer? My grandmother is not here, Ava said, quiet voice, steel underneath. The house manager bowed her head. Of course. Eli leaned in. Gallery means art, right? Paintings, safe rich people objects? The gallery did have paintings. It also had rifles, sabers, antique pistols, training blades, glass cases, locked drawers, and enough polished wood to make violence look hereditary. Eli stopped in the doorway. Absolutely not art. I stepped inside despite myself. The weapons gallery was ridiculous. Not because weapons were strange to me, but because this world kept telling men to be soft, while Ava Lind apparently lived in a house where history hung sharpened on the walls. Ava watched me look. My family collects things. Your family collects small wars. Her mouth moved like she liked that and did not want to. She led us to a glass case holding an old rifle with engraved silver along the stock. It looked maintained, heavy, and expensive enough to create paperwork just by existing. Ava unlocked the case with a code. Eli whispered, "Why does she know the code? Why is there a code? Why are we near it?" Ava lifted the rifle with both hands and offered it to me. "Take it," she said. I looked from the rifle to her face. "Why?" "You helped me." I unplugged a speaker. "You did not make me feel weak." That shut Eli up. Ava's hands stayed steady around the rifle, but her voice had a tremor she probably hated. "People give me things because they want access," she said. "I don't know how to give something without making it ugly. This is valuable. It is also mine. I want you to have it." There was the emotional trap, not manipulation. Worse, sincerity with a price tag so large it could crush both of us. I took the rifle carefully. It had weight, real weight. My sore arms complained, my fingers fit around the stock, and for one stupid second, the old world part of me respected the craftsmanship before the new world part remembered that accepting weapons from lonely heiresses after midnight was how men ended up in family disputes and news clips. I handed it back. Ava's face closed. I spoke before she could decide. Refusal meant rejection. "I'm trying to survive this country," I said, "not start a small war." Eli pointed at me. "That is the smartest thing he has said since the moon got weird." I looked at him. He froze. "Since the moon looked weird, in general, weather-wise." Ava did not notice the slip. She was looking at the rifle. "You don't want it," she said. "I don't want to owe your family a weapon. I do want the friendship if that was really on the table." The gallery went quiet. Ava slowly put the rifle back in the case. She locked it, then turned to me with something naked and dangerous in her calm face. "It is," she said. "On the table." Eli exhaled like a hostage released by paperwork. Ava's fingers stayed on the locked glass case for a second after she said it. The maze had given me one frightened girl in a prop room. Willowmere gave me a fortress, a tracker, family weapons, and a woman trying to hand me value because she did not know how else to ask to be chosen. Before we left, she tested whether I had meant it. Ava insisted on riding back with us to the cheap burger shop near the campus shuttle stop because I said I was hungry, and Eli said he would pass away if he did not eat something greasy. Security followed in a second car. Ava pretended not to notice. I pretended not to notice, her pretending. The burger shop was almost empty. Fluorescent lights, sticky table, no polished stone, no family weapons, no one asking if I needed a safety ribbon. For 10 minutes, it felt normal. Then I ruined it by opening my mouth. The cashier looked at my face, looked at the screen, and whispered, "Are you the cafeteria guy? Depends who is suing." She laughed and gave me extra fries. Ava watched the exchange with open curiosity, like cheap kindness was rarer than an antique rifle. I pushed the fries toward her. "No code required." She took one. Eli, who had recovered enough to be dramatic again, lifted his burger. "To surviving rich people, horror mazes, and Jace's terrible habit of making every public place weird." "To Eli apologizing to a corpse," I said. Ava laughed into her fries. "That was when a stranger at the next table angled her phone. I saw the motion. I almost stopped her." Then Ava laughed again, and I made the mistake of letting one normal second live. The clip hit Skyline Live before midnight. It was only 12 seconds. Me in a black shirt with a severe haircut, one wrapped hand around a burger, Ava Lind laughing beside me, Eli pointing a fry like a courtroom exhibit. The caption treated me like a discovered product. The comments did worse. By 12:07, the top tag had my face in it. By 12:19, strangers had clipped my cafeteria line, the maze camera, and the burger shop into one messy little legend. Bold pretty boy humiliates Rex Malloy, rescues mystery heiress, eats like a criminal. By 12:31, Eli called me screaming. "Do not open Skyline Live," he said. I was already opening it. My follower count on an account I barely understood was climbing by the second. Comments flooded under the clip. Some wanted to protect me, some wanted to hire me, some wanted to own me loudly enough that I put the phone face down. Ava texted one line. "Are you safe? Not. Are you angry? Not. Are you embarrassed? Safe," I replied. "Annoyed counts as safe." Her answer came after a few seconds. "Then stay annoyed." I almost smiled. Then another notification appeared. Skyline Live had sent a creator invitation. Right behind it, a verified Graves Media account followed me. I did not know what Graves Media wanted. I did not know who stood behind that follow. I did not know that one cheap burger clip had just moved me from campus problem to public asset. At that moment, all I knew was that Ava Lind had become my first real friend in this world. My face had become public property, and two powerful platforms had noticed before I had figured out how to open a bottle without making it a scene. The red moon mark warmed under my sleeve. Somewhere beyond the window, the moon looked almost normal. Almost. By morning, my phone was no longer a phone. It was a slot machine with my face as the jackpot. The Burger Shop clip had spread through Skyline Live while I slept badly, and every refresh made the number uglier. Not uglier because people hated me, that would have been simpler. Uglier because too many of them wanted me. There were comments asking if I needed protection. There were comments asking if I had a price. There were comments asking Ava Lynn to move out of the way so strangers could see more of my hands. I closed the app and opened my bank balance. That hurt worse. Eli called before I could throw the phone under the bed. Please tell me you are not looking at the comments, he said. I am looking at money. That is somehow worse. Training costs money. Food costs money. Existing independently in this country apparently costs money. Your father pays for things. That is not independence. Eli went quiet for half a second. Then he sighed like I had made a moral point and personally ruined his breakfast. Skyline Live sent you a creator invitation, he said. They are going to push you because the algorithm thinks you are a beautiful social emergency. Can it pay? Yes. Then I will use it. Jace, people on that platform do cute dances, skincare routines, sleep streams, closet reveals, and things I refuse to describe because I respect your blood pressure. I am not purring at a camera for rent money. Nobody said purr, they would. He did not deny it fast enough. That was enough answer for me. By noon, I had the old laptop on the desk, the curtains half closed, and the camera angled down so it showed only my wrapped hands, the keyboard, and the edge of my jaw when I leaned too far forward. I did not know all the platform tricks. I did not need to. The app had a button that said, Go Live, and my old life had left me with one clean advantage: this world had not trained out of me. I knew how to compete, not gracefully, not gently, not while thanking the room for underestimating me. I opened a ranked lobby, cracked my fingers, and said, I need cash, watch or leave. The viewer count jumped from 300 to 12,000 before the match even loaded. Chat moved so fast it turned into rain. Showface. Who is holding the mouse for him? No way that voice belongs to those hands. Is he alone? Someone please send him a manager. I ignored all of it until the first donation rocket burst across the corner of the screen. It was bright, stupid, and worth more than the training sessions I had been trying not to think about. I stared at the number. That, I said, is the first useful thing anyone has thrown at me today. More rockets followed. The game loaded. The lobby chat did not. One of the opposing players had a verified badge and a pro ranking icon beside her role. Her voice came through the team channel smooth and amused. Is this the bold pretty boy from the cafeteria clip? I adjusted my hand on the mouse. Depends who is about to lose. Her teammates laughed. The ranked female pro laughed too. Slower. That is adorable. Which girl is controlling your aim? There it was. Same script, different room. At Hudson Ridge Business Institute, Rex Malloy had called my appetite ugly because he thought a man should shrink. On Skyline Live, a pro with a verified badge called my skill fake because she thought a man could only decorate the screen. Wrong woman, wrong day. The match started. She rushed the center lane with the confidence of somebody who had humiliated softer men for content. I let her take the first angle. I let her think I was late. Then I cut under her sightline, baited her shot, and put her down before her second word left her mouth. The live chat stuttered. Then, it exploded. The pro went silent for one beat. I said into my cheap microphone, tell the girl controlling my aim she is doing great. The donation rockets doubled. Eli texted me in all caps. Do not flirt with violence on stream. I typed back between rounds. Too late. The pro came after me harder. Good. The first kill could be luck. The second could be panic. The third made the room choose a new explanation. By the fourth, chat stopped asking if I was real and started arguing over who had trained me. The pro's voice came back, sharper. No male hands move like that. I leaned forward too far. The camera caught my jawline and part of my mouth before I corrected it. That tiny accident hit harder than the kill streak. The viewer count climbed like somebody had kicked it. The pro saw it too. Her tone changed. Not fear, not yet. Greed maybe. Annoyance wearing lipstick. Show your face, she said. If you are really him. Win a round first. Her teammates stopped laughing. She did not win the round. I ended it with a cheap flank, a clean shot, and the kind of ugly little victory that makes a proud person forget she is being watched. Rematch, she snapped. Pay for it, I said. I meant the match queue. Chat decided I meant donations. The screen filled with rockets, banners, hearts, and dollar amounts so bright they looked fake. Skyline Live pushed my stream onto a trending panel while I was still trying to close a pop-up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear this time. Money had a sound. A tiny bright ping every time another donation landed. Independence sounded cheap and annoying. I loved it, Eli called again. I put him on speaker without taking my eyes off the screen. Jace, he said, voice strained, your stream is on the public trending panel. I noticed. Anicap's account is calling you a hidden pro. Better than hidden snack. Ava asked if you need security. That made my hands slow for half a second. I looked at the chat, the ranking, the donation total, the camera angle, the little sliver of my own face betraying me at the bottom of the frame. "Tell Ava I need dinner," I said. Eli groaned. "That is not what she means." "I know." I cut the call before he could mother me harder than my actual father. Skyline Live tried to help after that, which meant it tried to ruin me with a friendly interface. A prompt opened beside the match queue. Recommended creator style, soft lighting, full face, gentle introduction, audience reassurance. I stared at it. Audience reassurance. This world could turn even a button into a hand on my chin. I closed the prompt. Another one opened. Suggested first stream goal. Let viewers know you are safe. I said into the microphone. For anyone worried, I am safe enough to keep winning and unsafe enough to be interesting. That is the whole update. Half of them begged me to show my face. The other half started donating because I refused. That was the first useful lesson Skyline Live gave me. In this world, a man saying no was content. A man saying no while winning was premium content. The ranked pro heard the line too. "You are gonna get yourself banned or kidnapped," she said through the lobby channel. "Then beat me before either one happens." She went quiet. The viewer count climbed again. Somebody in chat started a donation challenge, not with a name I needed to remember, just a bright little banner that kept throwing dollars at the top of the screen every time I took a round without showing my face. That should have made me feel dirty. It did. It also paid for another month of training. Both things could be true. Independence was not clean. It was expensive, annoying, and apparently sponsored by strangers who had opinions about my jawline. A campus account clipped my line within seconds. Another account posted a slow-motion shot of my wrapped fingers on the keyboard. A third turned the ranked pro's first insult into a caption, "Decorative account." I watched the words spread in the corner of the screen while the next match loaded. Decorative account. The insult should have belonged to her. By the end of the hour, it belonged to me. That was the petty part I liked. I made the label useful before it could become a collar. The pro came back on voice, colder now. "If you are really so confident, hand cam only. No cuts, no hidden teammate, no one feeding you commands. You want proof or excuses? I want the audience to see what you are." That sentence slipped under my skin. Not who, what? I adjusted the camera down until both hands, both wrists, and the keyboard sat clear in frame. The red moon mark stayed hidden under the wrap, but barely. One bad movement and the whole supernatural problem would become a comment thread. I should have ended the stream. Instead I said, "Fine, watch closely, I charge extra for education." The next match hurt. My fingers cramped halfway through. My wrist from the studio bag work throbbed every time I snapped the mouse sideways. The pro saw the stiffness and attacked it, forcing long angles, quick turns, repeated pressure on the same weak joint. Smart, cruel enough to be useful. For one round, she almost had me. Chat smelled blood. Donations slowed. The pro's voice came through sweet and sharp. "There he is," she said. "Pretty hands get tired." The old part of me smiled before the new body caught up. So do loudmouths. I changed the pace. Stopped trying to match her speed. Let her chase the injury. Let her think the weak wrist was the whole map. Then I baited her into the same corner 3 times and punished her for believing pain made me stupid. On the final round, I took my hand off the mouse for half a second, flexed the cramping fingers in full view of the hand cam, and still beat her to the shot. The donation rockets came back so hard the screen lagged. The ranked pro did not ask for another rematch. That silence paid almost as well as the money. The ranked female pro queued again. This time, she brought friends. The lobby filled with verified badges, spectators, and people who had clearly come to watch the pretty boy get corrected by professionals. That prediction was useful. Viewers love a punishment they think is deserved. I let them have the first 2 minutes. They boxed me in, baited my escape, and forced me into a corner where a normal beginner would panic. Chat started cheering like the execution had already begun. Then my old world habits took over. Not magic, not genius, just patience under pressure. I waited until the pro overcommitted for the camera, slipped behind her, and broke the trap from the wrong side. 1 down, 2 down. The third tried to retreat and I chased her just long enough to make it personal. The pro slammed her desk. The sound cracked through her microphone. I said, "Careful, people will think you are emotional." The chat turned on her so fast it almost looked rehearsed. It was not justice. It was entertainment. Still paid. By the time I ended the stream, my pending donation total had become a number I checked 3 times because my brain rejected it the first 2. It was not enough to buy freedom, not real freedom. But it was enough to buy training, better equipment, food that did not look like it had been portioned for a decorative bird, and a small piece of breathing room. It also bought a problem I could not close with a button. The stream replay started spreading before I even stood up. My hand cam clip hit campus accounts. The pro's desk slam became a reaction sticker. Someone cut together my jawline accident, the donation rockets, and the line about education like I had planned it. I had planned none of it. That was what made it dangerous. The platform did not care whether I understood the machine. It had found a pretty man who could humiliate a ranked woman in public, refuse to be cute, and make viewers pay for the privilege of being ignored. That was enough for Skyline Live to put me in front of more strangers. Enough for strangers to start guessing where I lived. Enough for richer strangers to wonder if I could be packaged before someone else took a bite. And enough for me to understand the first rule of public money in this world. The dollars arrived smiling, but they carried addresses, assumptions, and hands behind them. Every ping had a hook under it. I just did not know whose hand held the line yet. That made the money feel colder. Skyline Live sent another notice. Creator rank pending review. Graves Media liked the stream. That last part sat in my chest wrong. Graves Media had followed me after the burger clip. Now it had watched me beat a ranked pro, show enough of my face to turn donations stupid, and prove that my value was not only pretty packaging. I should have felt proud. I felt hunted by richer people. The red moon mark warmed under the wrist wrap. I see it, I muttered. The mark did not answer. The goddess never showed up when answers would be useful. Ava texted before I left the room. Do not walk alone tonight. Eli texted 2 seconds later. Do not order food to your actual address. Do not answer unknown numbers. Do not fight anyone who says they are a talent scout. Do not improvise. Actually, ignore the first 4 and just do not leave. I looked at both messages and felt the shape of the trap without anyone touching me. Ava's concern was real. Eli's panic was earned. But if every dangerous thing made me accept a softer leash, the goddess would not need to erase me. I would sand myself down one practical compromise at a time. So I made a smarter bad decision. I sent Eli my route, chose the lit sidewalk, changed shirts, kept the wrist wrap tight, took the back stairs, and left the apartment without posting, streaming, or answering the 3 unknown numbers already buzzing on my phone. That was my maturity for the evening. It lasted 11 minutes. I went out after sunset because staying inside felt too much like hiding. That was not wisdom. That was irritation wearing boots. Brighton Cove looked different after the stream. The street had not changed, but people recognized the haircut, the hands, the way I walked like I had not accepted my assigned fragility. 2 women outside a convenience store whispered, then pointed their phones down too late. A delivery driver slowed at the curb and stared at me through the window. I kept walking. The first alley mouth I passed smelled like rainwater and smoke. The second had 3 women in it. The one in front had bright pink hair, a leather jacket, and the kind of smile that had charged people money before hurting them. She stepped into the sidewalk before I could cross. Jace Corbin, she said. My hand closed around the takeout bag like noodles could defend me. If this is about autographs, I said, start by apologizing to trees. The woman laughed. The 2 behind her did not. That made her the problem. Roxy Slate, she said, tapping her own chest. I run talent where pretty talent gets eaten. Congratulations, you need a manager with teeth. I have teeth. Her eyes dropped to my mouth. I noticed. I took 1 step to the side. She matched it. The sidewalk became too narrow. A car passed behind me. The 2 women in the alley spread out just enough to block the cheap exits. Roxy held up her phone. My stream was paused on the screen, my hand on the mouse, my jaw at the camera edge. Donation rockets frozen around me like neon bait. You know what you are worth now? Roxy asked. More than this conversation. Her smile sharpened. You are funny. That helps. Pretty boys who can talk get better offers. From who? Clubs, private rooms, paid appearances, fans with money, women who want to say they found you first. The ugly part did not even bother hiding. I looked from Roxy to the alley behind her. So you watched a stream where I beat professionals and thought the smart move was cornering me next to trash cans. I watched a stream where your hands shook after donations, Roxy said. That means you need money. People who need money learn fast. That hit close enough to make me angry. Anger was useful if I kept it pointed. I learned faster when people stopped talking. Roxy stepped in. She smelled like mint, smoke, and bad decisions. Here is my first lesson. You are new public property. If I manage you, I keep the worst hands off. If I do not, someone rougher takes a turn. And you are the polite option? I am the option that asks before I collect. I laughed. It was not a good laugh. Roxy's eyes changed. The amusement stayed, but her right hand dipped into her jacket and came back with a small knife held low against her thigh. The city noise thinned around that blade. My new body was still weaker than my instincts wanted. I had trained twice. I had sore wrists, no weapon, and a takeout bag losing heat in my fist. The old me would have had better odds. The current me had a pretty face, fast hands, and too much pride to back into the alley on command. Roxy tilted the knife. Second lesson, she said. Do not make me chase. I threw the noodles at her face. It was not elegant. It worked. Hot broth burst across her jacket. Roxy cursed and flinched. I kicked the nearest trash can sideways into the woman on my left, drove my shoulder into Roxy's chest, and grabbed her knife wrist before she recovered. The pain in my hand was immediate. So was the satisfaction when her smile vanished. She was stronger than me. That part mattered. She twisted, and the blade grazed my sleeve before I slammed her wrist against the brick wall. The knife clattered once. One of her women rushed me. I caught a glimpse of pink hair, wet pavement, and my own reflection in a dark store window. Pretty boy, viral face, weak body. Then I put my elbow into the woman's ribs and ran like pride had finally learned math. Roxy laughed behind me. Not angry. Interested. That was worse. Jace, she called, you are not as soft as advertised. Ask for a refund, I shouted back. I cut through the next street, crossed against the light, and did not slow until I reached a crowded bus stop. My sleeve was torn, my wrist burned, my noodles were dead. My donation money suddenly looked less like freedom and more like a sign on my back. Across the street, a black car idled at the curb. I noticed it because the window lowered just enough for a woman inside to lift a tablet. On the screen, I saw my own stream paused beside a blurry street clip of Roxy's knife. The logo on the case was Graves Media. The window rose. The car pulled away. My phone buzzed before the taillights turned the corner. The message came from a verified Graves Group account. Vivian Graves requests your presence at Graves Tower tomorrow morning. Requests. That was a pretty word for summons. I looked at my torn sleeve, my empty hands, the donation total still glowing on my phone, and the red crescent burning under the wrap. The stream had paid. The stream had also announced me to fans, predators, and whatever lived above both of them in a glass tower with my name already on its tablet. I had wanted cash for Independence. By midnight, Independence had sent me a bill. Graves Tower did not look like a building. It looked like a warning with windows. The verified message sat on my phone all morning, while Eli tried to convince me that powerful corporate summons were traditionally avoided by people who enjoyed having organs. Jace, he said, pacing outside the campus shuttle stop, Vivian Graves does not invite people. She acquires them. Then she can practice disappointment. That is not a strategy. It has worked so far. You got attacked in an alley last night. That was after it worked. Eli opened his mouth, closed it, then pointed at my torn sleeve. You see how that is worse? I did see it. That did not mean I was going to hide in the Corbin Keene house and wait for Roxy Slate or Graves Group to decide which cage matched my face better. The Skyline Live money had landed in my account that morning. Real dollars. Training money. Equipment money. A small, ugly little shield. Then Graves Tower rose over the business district and reminded me that some shields were decorative. The lobby had marble floors, black glass, private security, and a front desk where the receptionist already knew my name. She looked at my haircut, my wrapped wrist, and the bruise on my knuckle with the careful hunger people used when they wanted to stare professionally. Vivian Graves is expecting you, the receptionist said. Lucky her! Eli made a tiny dying sound behind me. A private elevator opened before we reached it. Inside waited a black card on a silver tray. No note, no explanation, just the kind of money object that made poor judgment feel invited. The security woman beside the tray said, Vivian Graves asked that you have no spending limits while under her care. Under her care. 3 words. Holy sh! I left the card on the tray. The security woman blinked. Eli whispered, that card could buy my anxiety a vacation. Then your anxiety can apply for its own cage. The elevator carried us up in silence. Graves Tower's top floor opened into a glass office big enough to make arrogance look like interior design. The city spread below us. Screens on one wall showed media feeds, stock tickers, creator rankings, and one frozen image of my hands on the Skyline Live keyboard. Vivian Graves stood in front of the window. I knew her before she turned because the room behaved around her. The assistant near the desk straightened. The security women near the doors went still. Even Eli stopped breathing too loudly. Vivian looked 30 maybe, with dark hair pulled back, a tailored suit that did not soften anything, and the posture of someone who had once learned violence professionally and then bought better ways to outsource it. She was beautiful in a hard way. Not Ava's quiet, careful beauty. Not the random street hunger I kept tripping over. Vivian looked like she expected the world to sign first and ask questions later. She turned. Her eyes moved over me once. Face, wrists, torn sleeve, mouth. Back to eyes. Jace Corbin, Vivian said. You have become expensive very quickly. I have that effect on medical bills too. Eli coughed into his fist. Vivian smiled, not kindly. Your friend can wait outside. My friend can hear anything said about me. The office changed a little. Not loudly. The assistant's hand paused over a folder. One security woman shifted her weight. Eli looked at me like he appreciated the loyalty and hated the survival odds. Vivian did not look offended. That made her more dangerous. Fine, she said. Then he can hear me offer you the cleanest future you are going to get. The assistant placed a contract on the table. I did not sit. Vivian noticed and sat first, as if the chair itself belonged to her more when I refused it. Graves Media can make your public image profitable without letting it become cheap, she said. Graves Security can keep street-level predators away from you. Graves Group can provide a penthouse, transportation, training, wardrobe, a managed Skyline live schedule, and controlled sponsor access. Controlled by who? By the person with enough power to keep Roxy Slate from carving her initials into your career, Eli whispered. That was vivid. Vivian's eyes did not leave me. The assistant slid the contract closer. The black card from the elevator appeared beside it like a second argument. You would be protected, Vivian said. I would be owned. You would be paid. Pets get fed too. The assistant's eyes widened. Vivian leaned back slightly, not retreating, measuring. You think refusing me makes you independent? She asked. No, it makes me awake. Her smile thinned. You streamed for 3 hours and nearly got cornered by a club fixer before dinner. I also made money and kept my knife-free status. Barely counts. Vivian tapped one finger on the contract. This is not a romance fantasy, Jace. This is market reality. You are young, beautiful, visible, untrained, and publicly defiant in a world that punishes men who confuse attention with power. That was the first thing she said that sounded true. I hated that, so I answered the part I could punch. I am not a product launch with abs. The assistant made a choked sound. Eli stared at the floor like it had suddenly become spiritual. Vivian laughed once. Short, real, annoyed with itself. You are very committed to being difficult. I prefer accurate. I picked up the contract. The paper was thick, expensive, and full of soft words that meant hard control. Appearance consultation, residential security, brand behavior standards, companion approvals, emergency medical authorization. There it was, companion approvals. I put the contract back down. No. The assistant stepped forward. Jace Corbin, you should understand that Vivian Graves is offering terms no unmanaged male creator receives. I understood the no part. Please sit, the assistant said, and put a hand on my shoulder. My body moved before diplomacy could ruin it. I caught her wrist, turned it away from my shoulder, and stepped out of the line between her and the door. I did not break anything. I did not need to. The point was smaller and more public. Do not put hands on me and call it care. The assistant went pale. Eli hissed. Jace! Vivian was already standing. She crossed the office fast enough to prove the former soldier rumors were not decoration. Her hand came up, caught my forearm, and stopped the movement before the assistant stumbled. For 1 second, Vivian and I were close enough that the glass office disappeared. Her grip was strong, mine was weaker. She felt both facts. Her smile returned. There you are, Vivian said softly. She did not push me back. That would have been simpler. If she had shoved me, threatened me, or ordered her security women to pin me against the glass, I could have hated her cleanly. Instead, she loosened her grip by 1/2 inch and let me feel the choice. Your body is still behind your instincts, Vivian said. Your wrists telegraph pain. Your right shoulder guards after impact. You do not know how fragile this version of you is yet. That sounded almost caring. It is risk assessment. Romantic! Eli made the mistake of breathing in surprise. Vivian glanced at him. You brought him because you trust him. I brought him because he would follow me anyway. Then let me protect him too. That got both of us quiet. Vivian let go of my arm and turned back to the contract. Graves Security can assign coverage to Eli Camden. Quietly, no campus spectacle. No street fixer touches him because of you. Eli's face changed before he could hide it. Fear, first. Hope, second. Shame, third, because he knew I saw both. Vivian noticed everything. That was her gift and her sickness. You see the real offer now, she said to me. It is not only about your comfort. Your refusal has a blast radius. Roxy had already proved it. Fame did not only put a sign on my back, it put smaller signs on everyone standing near me. For 1 ugly second, the contract looked less like a cage and more like a padded wall around Eli. Then I looked at the companion approvals line again. Protection that started by choosing my friends was just ownership with better manners. No, I said. Eli looked at me, hurt and relieved at the same time. Vivian's expression sharpened. You would risk him to preserve your pride? I stepped closer to the table and tapped the contract once. I would risk myself to preserve the difference between help and ownership. Do not use him as a discount on my leash. The assistant looked like she wanted to object. She did not. That was another tiny collapse, not victory. A crack. Vivian saw the crack too. Since I had entered Graves' tower, her people had looked to her first. Now they waited to see what I would do instead of what she would allow. I pulled my arm free. Here I go. This time, when I walked toward the elevator, nobody grabbed me. fake authority did not always collapse with screaming. Sometimes it collapsed when a room full of powerful people watched a man refuse the chair, refuse the card, refuse the contract, and leave with the offer still bleeding on the table. I had won something in that room. Not safety, not power, not enough. But I had made Vivian Graves spend effort instead of permission, and that mattered. Power hated being forced to ask twice. It hated witnesses even more, especially witnesses who could leave. That mattered more than style points. I should have been allowed to enjoy that for 10 steps. Roxy's slate had worse timing. Eli's phone buzzed as we reached the street. He looked at the screen and went stiff. "What?" I asked. He turned the phone toward me. It was a photo of Eli sitting in a booth under red club lights, except he was not there now. It had been taken some time earlier, maybe when Roxy's people had followed him after campus. The message under it was simple. "Tell pretty boy the invitation is less polite tonight." Eli swallowed. "She knows where I live." The win in Graves Tower turned to ash fast. That was how this world kept teaching the same lesson with different hands. If a woman could not buy me from the top, another would try to drag me from the bottom. And if neither could reach me cleanly, they would touch someone who stood near me. I took Eli's phone. "Go home," I said. "Absolutely not. Eli, you defended me in there. Do not try to dump me on the curb like a soft backpack. You are not coming into Roxy's club. Then you are not either." He looked terrified as he said it. He still said it. Loyalty did not always arrive with muscles. Sometimes it arrived pale, shaking, and making terrible choices in nice shoes. The easy move would have been to call Ava Lind and let her security swallow the problem. I almost did. Ava would have answered. That was the dangerous part. She would have sent a car, maybe two, maybe the kind of quiet people who made campus staff stand straighter. She would have helped because helping was the first language she trusted around me. But Roxy had already used Eli to pull me. If I dragged Ava's family name into it too, the whole mess would become another contest over who got to keep me safest. I needed witnesses, not owners. So, I changed the plan. We did not go alone. We went noisy. Eli hated every part of that phrase. "Noisy how?" he asked. "Location shared, phone recording, public entrance, no back door. If we get separated, you go toward people, not toward me." That last part was disgusting. It was practical. I reject practical things that sound like final words. I gripped his shoulder hard enough to make him stop talking. "You are not bait. You are not payment. You are not the part of my life people get to threaten because I am inconvenient." His expression cracked for half a second. Then he nodded. That was the emotional cost Vivian had tried to buy. Eli did not need a perfect hero. He needed proof that I understood the risk I kept dragging behind me. I texted Ava one line, not asking her family for help, just telling her where Eli and I would be if we did not answer in an hour. She replied almost immediately. "Do not be heroic in a basement." I typed back, "I prefer ground floor." Then I put my phone on record and slid it into my jacket pocket. The recorder was not my weapon. It was insurance for whatever consequence came after the weapon. Roxy's clubroom sat behind an unmarked door under a restaurant that pretended not to hear the bass. No proper name on the outside, no glamour. Just a hallway, red lights, two women at the entrance, and Roxy Slate sitting at the far end of a private room with my ruined takeout bag on the table like a trophy. "You owe me noodles," she said. "Send an invoice." Eli stayed behind my right shoulder. I could hear his breathing. Roxy's people laughed. There were 5 of them this time. 1 near the door, 2 by the wall, 1 sitting with her boots on the table, 1 standing too close to Eli's side. I looked at that one first. "Move away from him." The woman grinned. "Pretty boy gives orders now?" Roxy lifted 1 finger and the woman moved half a step back. Not enough. Enough to tell me Roxy wanted to pretend she was reasonable. "Word is you walked out of Graves Tower without Vivian Graves's card," Roxy said. "Bold. Careful. Compliments make me trust you less. I am serious. She puts men in glass towers. I put them on stages. Mine get applause. Yours get knives." Roxy's smile flicked. "Good." I stepped closer to the table. "Say the offer clearly. You stream under my management. Appear where I send you. Smile when the paid rooms want smiles. Keep the dangerous women sweet. I keep Eli untouched and the rougher crews away. And if I say no?" The woman near Eli answered before Roxy could. "Then we teach your little friend why pretty boys should come when called." There it was, the ugly part, out loud. Roxy's eyes cut to her, irritated. I smiled. Not because the recorder caught it, that was later. Because now the room had formed a prediction. They thought I had come to negotiate. I had come to move the woman away from Eli. I grabbed the table and flipped it. Glasses, the takeout bag, Roxy's phone, and 1 very expensive bottle exploded across the room. Roxy jerked back. Eli shouted something religious. The woman by his side looked at the table instead of me, and I put my shoulder into her chest hard enough to drive her into the wall. "Run!" I snapped at Eli. He did not run. He threw his drink in the face of the woman near the door. I would have been proud if I had time. Roxy came over the table gap with a knife already out. She learned from Allie's. I learned too. I did not grab the blade hand first this time. I threw a chair into her knees, stepped around the cut, and slammed my wrapped forearm into her wrist when she recovered. Pain shot up my arm. The knife hit the floor. The woman with boots on the table lunged for it. Eli kicked it under a couch and immediately looked horrified by his own foot. "I did sports," he yelled, like that explained anything. For 5 ugly seconds, the room was all elbows, red light, broken glass, and my new body reminding me I was not invincible. I took a hit to the ribs. I tasted blood. I caught someone's sleeve and used her own momentum to put her into the wall. Not clean. Not cinematic. Real enough. Then the bass outside died. The hallway went quiet. Later, I learned Vivian had put eyes on Roxy after the alley clip. Graves security entered like the building had been waiting to belong to someone else. Black suits. Calm faces, hands already controlling wrists before Roxy's crew understood the room had changed owners. Roxy looked past them and went still. Vivian Graves walked in behind her security team. I spat blood into a napkin because giving her a dramatic entrance felt like charity. "You followed me," I said. Vivian's eyes moved over the broken room, Eli's shaking hands, Roxy's knife under the couch, and the cut on my lip. "I protected the market," she said. "I refused your market. Markets do not require consent to notice value." Roxy laughed once, brittle. "You don't own this block, Vivian." Vivian finally looked at her. The temperature of the room changed. "By sunrise," Vivian said. "You will not own it either." Roxy's face lost color. Her crew heard it. That mattered more than any paperwork. The women who had looked ready to bleed for her 5 minutes ago started looking at doors, phones, and each other. Fake authority collapsed twice that day, first in a glass office, then under red club lights, where Roxy Slate learned her street crown was made of borrowed rooms and nervous friends. Vivian's security woman picked up the knife with a cloth and set it on the broken table. Another handed me my phone from the floor. The recorder was still running. Vivian glanced at it. "Useful, minor," I said. "The chair did more work." Eli finally laughed that night. It sounded like it hurt. Roxy stared at me with fury and something worse underneath. "You think she saved you?" Roxy asked. "She just put a prettier leash on the same collar." I looked at Vivian. Vivian did not deny it. That was the problem. Grave security escorted us out through the restaurant while staff pretended they had been cleaning the same glass for 20 minutes. Outside, 3 black vehicles waited at the curb. Not police. Not official. Worse in some ways. Private power with clean tires. Eli leaned against the wall and put a hand over his stomach. "I am going to throw up," he said. "Aim away from the convoy." "How are you joking?" "Badly." His face twisted. "She used me because of you. I had no clever answer for it." "I know," I said. Eli looked at me then, really looked, and the anger did not stay. Fear did. Loyalty did too. "Next time," he said, "you tell me before you decide to become a human disaster." You would say no. Obviously, that is why you need me. Vivian waited beside the nearest car while we had that quiet little fight. She gave us the space like a gift, which made me trust it less. When I stepped toward the sidewalk instead of the car, 2 security women shifted. Vivian lifted one hand, and they stopped. "You can walk," she said. "You are not my prisoner." Generous. "But you are bleeding." Roxy Slate is angry, and 3 crews in this city just learned that reaching for you can bring grave security through a door. Let me drive you home. The smart answer was no. The smarter answer was not to make Eli limp across Brighton Cove after being used as bait. I hated that Vivian had built a situation where accepting help looked like responsibility. We got in the car. Vivian sat across from me. Eli took the far seat and immediately pretended not to shake. A security woman closed the door. For a few blocks, nobody spoke. The city lights slid across Vivian's face. She watched my hands, not my mouth. My wrist wrap had loosened during the fight, and the red moon mark sat half exposed under the edge. It warmed. Vivian's gaze locked onto it too fast. I pulled the wrap down. Too late. Her gaze looked less curious than recognized. She looked up at me. "When did that appear?" she asked. "Bad night." "Which bad night?" I smiled because my ribs hurt and my patience was gone. "I have started a collection." Vivian did not smile back. The car turned toward the Corbin Keene house. Eli stared out the window like he wanted the glass to turn into a prayer. Vivian leaned forward just enough for her perfume to cut through the smell of club smoke and blood. "Jace," she said, "what happened to you after the red moon?" The question hit harder than Roxy's knife. I had refused the contract. I had made Roxy's trap backfire. I had walked out of 2 cages in 1 day. Then Vivian Graves asked the one question nobody in this world was supposed to know how to ask. I dodged Vivian Graves for 2 days, not because I was scared, because I was scared and busy pretending it was strategy. Her red moon question sat in my phone like a lit match. She did not send long messages. She did not beg. She did not threaten at first. She only sent 3 words every few hours. We should talk. That was how rich predators sounded when they owned the room already. I deleted the messages, streamed for money, trained until my arm shook, and told Eli that Vivian could wait. Eli said, "People like Vivian Graves do not wait. They schedule consequences." He was right. On the 3rd afternoon, a Graves security car rolled up outside Hudson Ridge Business Institute before my last class had emptied into the courtyard. Students saw it. Phones lifted. Rex Malloy was across the walkway pretending not to watch, which meant he watched harder than anyone. The security woman who stepped out did not touch me. Smart of her. "Vivian Graves requests a private meeting," she said. "She already requested." This is the polite version. Eli, standing beside me with a coffee he had no emotional right to trust, whispered, "I hate when polite has levels." I looked at the security car, then at the campus phones, then at the red moon mark hidden under my sleeve. If I refused in public, the whole courtyard would turn it into another clip before I reached the sidewalk. If I went, Vivian controlled the building. Either way, the choice had teeth, so I made it mine. "Fine," I said, "but if she puts a hand on my shoulder, I am billing the tower for emotional damage." The security woman blinked once. Eli whispered, "Please stop making invoices against billionaires." I went alone. Graves Tower's elevator took me lower this time, not higher. No glass office, no city view. The doors opened into a private floor with concrete walls, clean white lights, and a red badge scanner beside a locked inner door. The badge on the desk said, "Red Moon Lab." For a second, my body forgot how to breathe. Then anger came back and did its job. Vivian waited inside a room that looked half like a vault and half like a museum for people with too much money and not enough shame. Glass cases lined the walls. Old books, antique jewelry, sealed boxes, painted porcelain, polished weapons. In the center of the room, under its own light, sat a red and gold plate on a black pedestal. The Phoenix plate. I did not know its name yet. I only knew it looked too expensive to stand near. Vivian stood beside it in a dark suit, hands folded, no assistant, no audience, no Eli to witness my bad decisions. "You came," she said. "Your security staged a small campus parade. You like public scenes. I like choosing them." She accepted that with a small nod, which annoyed me more than argument. On the wall screen behind her were 3 paused images. My old social feed. My Skyline Live ranking jump. The alley clip where Roxy Slate's knife flashed low and my hand caught her wrist. Visible contradictions. Not a folder. Not a formal investigation. A wall of ways my life did not match itself. Vivian touched a remote. The first image enlarged. It was a post from before I woke in this body. The Jace Corbin from before me smiled softly at a Graves Media charity event banner. The caption under it made my skin crawl. "Someday I hope a woman like Vivian Graves notices me." Below that, another old post. "Men are safest when a strong woman knows what is best for them." I stared at the words. They were written by my hand. They were not mine. Vivian watched my face. "You do not remember posting those. I remember wanting to throw up just now." "That is not an answer. It is the honest part." She clicked again. The next image was not a post. It was an old video from some campus fundraiser before I arrived in this life. I stood at the edge of a crowd in a pale sweater, softer hair falling into my eyes, hands folded like I was trying to take up less air. Vivian appeared on the stage in the background, giving a short sponsor speech while the room watched her like gravity had entered in heels. The old version of this face looked up at her with open worship. I hated seeing it, not because worship was ugly by itself. People could admire power without becoming weak. I hated it because I recognized the shape of surrender around his shoulders. Vivian paused the video on that frame. 3 days before the red moon, she said. You waited 2 hours after this event to ask one of my assistants whether Graves Media accepted male ambassadors. Did I? You said you wanted to be useful to a woman who knew what to do with you. The words crawled over my skin. Sounds like I needed better hobbies. It sounds like a man with a consistent pattern, Vivian said. Then the red moon passed. You woke up. You canceled grooming, cut your hair, changed your handwriting, humiliated Rex Malloy, rescued Ava Lind, went viral, streamed like an elite competitor, and fought Roxy Slate. She stepped away from the screen. That is not a mood swing. Maybe the old me got tired. Maybe. Vivian's eyes held mine. Or maybe the person looking at me right now is not the same man who wrote those posts. The room went too quiet. The red moon mark burned under my sleeve like it wanted to confess before I did something stupid. I kept my voice flat. That is a big accusation to hang on, old cringe. It is not an accusation yet. Comforting. It is a question with teeth. Vivian clicked to a close-up of my handwriting from an old campus form, then another from the studio waiver after I woke up. Different pressure, different slant, different man if you knew what to look for. Eli had noticed it first. Seeing it on Vivian's wall felt worse. Who else has this? I asked. Almost nobody. Almost. Your father has eyes. Your friend has loyalty. Ava Lind has instincts. Rex Malloy has envy. None of them have my resources. That was almost a threat. It was a map. Maps are what people use before they come take something. Vivian's gaze moved to my covered wrist. Or before they stop someone else from taking it first. That was the trap she kept setting. She put real danger on one side and herself on the other, then acted surprised when I called both sides dangerous. I pointed at the scream. You collected enough contradictions to scare me. Congratulations. What answer are you trying to force? Vivian lowered the remote. Tell me who woke up in Jace Corbin's body. There it was. Clean. Ugly. Spoken out loud. For one breath, the old room, the old moon, and the goddess's mirror all pressed against the inside of my skull. Then I smiled because fear deserved bad company. A guy with excellent taste in haircuts. Vivian did not laugh. Deflection will not save you. Neither will confession if the person asking already built the cage. My pulse was loud enough that I could hear it in my teeth. The worst part was not that Vivian had guessed too much. The worst part was that some scared corner of me wanted someone else to hold the answer for a minute. That was how cages started looking useful. I hated that feeling most. It sounded too much like surrender. Again, she changed the screen. My old game account appeared. Low rank, barely used. Casual stats so soft they looked asleep. Beside it sat the Skyline live match where I beat the ranked female pro so badly that her desk slam became a meme. Vivian said, 1 week ago, this account could barely clear a training lobby. Then you went live and outplayed a professional while hiding your face. People improve. Not like that. The third image changed. Studio footage, maze footage, Roxy Alley footage, clubroom footage from a security angle I had not known existed, me catching wrists, checking corners, moving wrong for a man raised under this world's rules. Vivian's voice stayed calm. You look inexperienced in this body, she said. Your strength fails you, your balance is not always right. But your choices are trained, your eyes check exits before your feet do. Your hands move before a managed male should even decide he is allowed to resist. I hated every correct word. You brought me here to compliment my footwork? I brought you here because you changed after the red moon. The mark under my sleeve burned. Vivian saw the twitch. Of course she did. She stepped closer to the center pedestal, not close enough to touch me. Graves Group has studied Redmond events for years, she said. Disappearances, personality fractures, people waking with skills they never learned, families insisting someone came back wrong. That sounds like a hobby for people who already own too many buildings. It sounds like survival when it happens near your company, and now you think it happened to me. Vivian did not answer fast. That was answer enough. I laughed once, sharp and ugly. So the contract was the soft cage, and this is the lab cage. This is the honest room. Rooms do not get honest because rich women label them. Her eyes hardened. You are standing in a body with a public history you do not remember, a mark tied to an event you refuse to explain, and a pattern of combat and defiance that no one around Jace Corbin recognizes. Hearing my own name like that did something bad to my chest. Not fear. Not only fear. The Jace from before me was not a theory to Mr. Corbin. He was a son. To Eli, he was a friend. To old posts, old photos, old messages, he was a man who had wanted the exact cage I kept kicking open. I did not know where he had gone. Vivian did not get to carve me open to find out. If you want a pet project, I said, buy a robot. That line hit. Her mouth tightened. You think jokes make this less dangerous? No, they make it less yours. I turned toward the door. The lock clicked. There it was. Vivian did not raise her voice. She did not need to. Jace, she said, if you walk out ignorant, Roxy's level of predator will be the smallest thing waiting for you. Then unlock the door and let me learn outside. Cooperate with Red Moon Lab. No. Let Grave Security protect you. No. Sign the managed contract. I already gave that answer. Vivian walked to the side wall and pressed her palm against a scanner. A glass panel slid open, revealing shelves of sealed files and red-marked objects I did not recognize. I saw photos, old phones, a cracked watch, a child's drawing of a red moon, and a row of small evidence bags that made my stomach tighten before my brain could name why. She did not pull a file. Good. If she had started reading case numbers, I might have walked into traffic for variety. Instead, she held up one small object from the front shelf, a plain metal key bent at a strange angle. A woman in another state vanished under a red moon for 12 minutes, Vivian said. She returned with this in her hand and a language she had never learned on her tongue. Her family said she was kinder afterward. Her husband said she was a stranger wearing his wife. That story's supposed to make me trust you? It is supposed to make you understand why I do not treat your mark like jewelry. She put the key back. One object, one story, enough to make the room colder without turning the moment into a lecture. What happened to her? I asked before I could stop myself. Vivian closed the glass panel. She disappeared again the next time the moon turned red. There was the cost. Not paperwork, not research, a warning with a body-shaped hole in it. The goddess's smile flashed in my memory, red and amused. Fail, and the world will finish what it has already begun. Vivian watched me absorb that. You need me, she said. I need answers. That is not the same thing. Vivian stepped closer to the pedestal, and the light caught the phoenix plate between us like a warning flare. You keep saying ownership, she said. But you have no problem using Ava Lynn's friendship, Eli Camden's loyalty, your father's house, Skyline Live's audience, and every dollar strangers throw because they want to look at your hands. That one hit me because it hit near the truth. Using help is not the same as surrendering choice. Choice without power is a slogan. Power without choice is a cage with better locks. She looked almost satisfied that I could keep up. That made me want to break something, which was exactly the wrong mood to have near priceless objects. Vivian stepped around the pedestal. The phoenix plate glowed under the light between us, red and gold, painted with a bird rising through stylized flame. It was beautiful in the useless way. Rich objects are beautiful when they know nobody can afford to hate them. You keep mistaking refusal for power, Vivian said. You keep mistaking pressure for consent. The air sharpened. She moved first, not to hit me, but to catch my wrist. The marked one. I pulled back, fast. Too fast for this still weak body on a polished floor. My heel clipped the pedestal base. The phoenix plate wobbled. For one stupid heartbeat, Vivian and I both reached for it. My fingers caught the edge. Her hand caught my forearm. The plate hit the side of the pedestal anyway. The crack sounded small. The consequence did not. The phoenix plate split through the painted bird, dropped from my fingers, and broke into 3 red and gold pieces on the vault floor. Silence came down hard. Vivian looked at the pieces. I looked at Vivian. That, I said carefully, was not all me. Her eyes lifted. There was anger in them now. Good. Anger was cleaner than fascination. The phoenix plate belonged to the Graves family collection for 4 generations, Vivian said. Put it on a lower pedestal next time. It is insured at $100 million. My brain rejected the number so completely I almost laughed. Then, I saw her face. She meant it. The number was not fairness, it was a weapon with commas, and Vivian knew exactly where to point it. That plate is worth $100 million? Was, Vivian said. It was sitting in a room where you were grabbing people. You broke it while refusing my help. That is a very expensive way to say you locked a door. Vivian did not answer right away. That scared me more than yelling. She knelt beside the broken pieces with the kind of control people use when they are one breath away from becoming dangerous. Her fingers hovered over the painted bird, not touching the sharpest crack. My grandmother protected this collection during a fire, she said. My mother used to say the phoenix plate survived because some things are too stubborn to burn. I could have mocked that. I did not. The plate was still a trap, but it was not only a trap. That made the trap work better. The object had history, pride, grief, and a ridiculous number attached to it. Vivian looked up. You think everything I own is a leash? No, I said. I think you use everything you own as one. Vivian bent, picked up one broken piece with both hands, and placed it on the velvet cloth beside the pedestal. The way she touched it told me the number was not the only thing that mattered. Family, history, pride. Useful guilt tried to crawl into my throat. I swallowed it. Guilt was not permission. Vivian opened a drawer under the display case and pulled out a thin debt note. Blank, until she wrote the number. Her handwriting was clean enough to be cruel. $100 million. She signed her name and turned the paper toward me. 3 choices, Vivian said. Pay the debt, cooperate with Red Moon Lab until I know what you are, or become my man under Graves' protection and I absorb the loss. She placed the black card beside the debt note, same card from the elevator, same silent argument, only now it sat next to a number that made my stream donations look like loose change under a couch. 1 swipe, Vivian said. 1 signature, 1 month under my terms. I freeze the debt, keep Roxy away, keep Graves Media profitable, and give you access to every Red Moon file I have. 1 month? To start. Honest, practical. No, I said. Predatory, just better dressed. Her jaw tightened. You are not hearing me, she said. I hear you perfectly. You put $100 million fire behind me and opened a luxury door in front of me. Then you called the door rescue. For 1 second, Vivian looked almost impressed. Then the impression turned into anger again. There it was, the pretty cage with a better cushion. For a second, the room tilted toward the easy answer. No debt, no Roxy, no random street knives, no hunger panic over training costs, no scrambling for donations while strangers ranked my face like a product. Just Vivian Graves, Graves Tower, black cards, security, and a leash soft enough to fool a tired man. The red moon mark burned like the goddess had pressed her thumb into my wrist. Fail, and the world will finish what it has already begun. My anger found the floor again. I picked up the debt note. Vivian's eyes narrowed. You are choosing the impossible number? I am choosing the version where I still belong to myself. Pride is not a payment plan. Neither is becoming furniture. She stepped closer. You could live comfortably. So could expensive furniture. I am trying not to become that. I hated the line as soon as I said it. Too dramatic, too clean. But the point was ugly enough to survive it. Vivian heard the ugly part. You would rather owe me $100 million than admit you need me, she said. I need answers. I need money. I need training. I might even need your research. I folded the debt note and put it in my pocket. I do not need an owner. Her face changed. Not soft. Vivian Graves did not soften, but something in her attention shifted from acquisition to pursuit. That was not safer. That was the next problem, putting on better shoes. She unlocked the door. Then start earning, she said, because the debt begins now. I walked out with $100 million of broken porcelain behind me and a folded piece of paper in my pocket that weighed more than any weapon Ava Lind had offered. In the elevator, my hands shook. Not for the cameras, not for the goddess, for me. The stream money that had felt huge 2 days earlier was suddenly dust. Roxy Slate's knife was a street problem. Vivian Graves had turned my identity problem into a number so large it bent the whole story around it. Pay, cooperate, or be kept. Those were her terms. Mine were worse and cleaner. Survive long enough to make a fourth option. At the lobby, a security woman handed me a dark jacket. My sleeve had torn again near the wrist during the struggle, and the red moon mark kept trying to show itself like a traitor. Vivian Graves said to cover it, the woman said. I should have refused. The lobby was full of phones. I took the jacket. It smelled like Graves Tower, expensive fabric, cold perfume, Vivian's world trying to sit on my shoulders. By the time I reached the Corbin Keene house, night had already settled over Brighton Cove. Mr. Corbin's car was in the driveway. The porch light was on. Home looked warm from the outside, which was how traps and shelters both got away with it. I opened the front door quietly. Nora Keene stood in the hallway. She had not appeared in my life in a real scene yet, only in calls, family mentions, and the kind of concern that traveled through other people. In person, she was older than me by a couple years, still in medical scrubs under a soft cardigan, with tired eyes and a calm smile that looked practiced on hospital families. She looked at my face first, then my wrist, then the jacket. Her smile did not disappear. That made it worse. Jace, Nora said, you're hurt. Popular diagnosis lately. She stepped closer, gentle enough that any normal person would have relaxed. I did not. Nora reached for the edge of the Graves jacket and stopped before touching it. Her eyes lifted to mine. That perfume, she said softly, it isn't Ava's. The $100 million debt sat folded in my pocket. Vivian's questions still burned under my sleeve. And home, which was supposed to be the one place without a price tag, had just smelled another woman's claim before I could take the jacket off. Nora Keene did not ask where I had been first. She smelled Vivian Graves on the jacket. That should not have scared me more than a $100 million debt note in my pocket, a burned wrist under my sleeve, and Vivian's red moon question still crawling through my skull. But it did, because Nora did not react like a normal person finding another woman's perfume on a man who had just walked in bruised. She reacted too fast. Her eyes moved from the Graves jacket to my torn sleeve, then to the tiny streak of dried blood near my knuckles. She stood in the hallway in medical scrubs under a soft cardigan, with a Cedarwell Medical Center badge clipped near her pocket and a calm smile that looked gentle enough to fool a hospital waiting room. Jace, Nora said softly, you're hurt. Popular diagnosis lately. She stepped closer and stopped before touching me. That little pause should have helped. It didn't. The beauty consultant had touched without permission. Vivian had touched like ownership was just another form of risk management. Roxy Slate had touched with a knife waiting behind the smile. Nora paused like she already knew exactly how far she could go before I bit. May I see your hand? She asked. I stared at her. Eli would have panicked at the silence. Vivian would have pressed. Ava would have waited like the choice mattered. Nora waited too. That was the problem. She did it like she had practiced waiting for me. I held out my hand. Her fingers were cool and professional when she turned my wrist. Not flirty, not soft in the useless way. She checked swelling, split skin, old bruises from the studio, newer bruises from the clubroom, and the edge of the sleeve hiding the red moon mark. Her thumb stopped 1 inch away from it. Then her eyes lifted to mine. "That perfume," she said. "It isn't Ava's." The line landed in the hallway like a knife set down politely. I pulled my hand back. "No." Nora smiled. "Good. I would have been disappointed if Ava wore something that cold." I should have laughed. Instead, I watched her move to the living room fireplace, take the Graves jacket off my shoulders with the kind of care that made refusal feel rude, and drop it over the iron grate. "Nora," I said. She struck a kitchen match. "It's borrowed." So was the claim. The flame caught the lining first. The expensive fabric curled black at the edge. Vivian's perfume turned sharp, then bitter, then disappeared under smoke. Nora stood in front of the fireplace with her hands folded, watching the jacket burn like she was disposing of medical waste. My debt note suddenly felt hotter in my pocket. "That jacket cost more than your couch," I said. "Then she can afford grief." "Vivian Graves is not known for grief. Neither am I." She said it so lightly that it almost sounded like a joke. It was not a joke. Mr. Corbin was already asleep upstairs, or pretending to be, because the house had the charged quiet of people protecting themselves from a conversation. Nora led me into the kitchen. A bowl of soup waited on the counter. So did bandages, pain medicine, an ice pack, and a notebook filled with neat budget columns. She had prepared before I arrived. That fact sat wrong. "I got home 5 minutes ago," I said. "You were late," Nora said. "That is not an answer." "It is if somebody cares." She set the soup in front of me and slid the medicine beside it. "Eat first. Interrogate me after." I looked at the soup. Meat, potatoes, enough salt, no tiny decorative leaf floating on top like a moral lesson. My stomach betrayed me, Nora noticed. "Of course she did. Vivian feeds men contracts," she said. "Ava probably feeds them antique rifles. I feed people things that keep them standing." That sounded almost normal until you ranked the women. "I am a doctor. Ranking threats is part of the job. Vivian is not a medical threat." Nora's smile warmed by 1 degree and got worse. "Any woman who sends you home injured in her jacket is a threat. She didn't send me home injured. I arrived that way." That makes her bad at claiming responsibility. I picked up the spoon because arguing with soup nearby was bad strategy. For 3 minutes, Nora was exactly what a tired, bruised man would want at home. She cleaned my knuckles without making it a scene. She pushed the pain medicine closer when I ignored it. She asked if Eli had gotten home safely. She did not ask why Vivian knew about my wrist. She did not ask why the jacket had hidden it. That almost made her feel safer. Almost. Then she tapped the budget notebook. "Your father said you're suddenly worried about money," she said. "If you need help, I can make a real plan. Rent, training, food, debt, equipment, emergency cash." My hand stopped on the spoon. Nora's eyes dropped in my pocket for less than a heartbeat. Too fast for most people. Not for me. "What debt?" I asked. I said debt because every grown man in Brighton Cove has one. Student debt, medical debt, credit card debt, ego debt, pick a flavor. Cute. I try. The notebook stayed between us like a polite trap. I pushed it back. "I'm not borrowing from you." "I didn't offer to lend." "You were about to?" "I was about to help you keep other women from turning your panic into a leash." That was exactly the kind of true sentence that made a lie harder to see. I stood. Nora did not stop me. She only picked up the ice pack and placed it in my hand. "Fine," she said. "Keep your secrets, but at least keep the swelling down." At the kitchen doorway she added, "And Jace?" I looked back. Her calm smile returned. "If Vivian Graves touches your wrist again, make sure the room has fewer priceless objects next time." The Phoenix plate note in my pocket felt like it had gained teeth. I did not tell Nora about the plate. I did not tell her about Red Moon Lab. I did not tell her Vivian had asked the one question that could crack my life open. Because Nora's care felt too warm, and warm cages are still cages if the door locks behind you. The next morning, Rex Malloy made sure the whole campus knew I had been inside Graves' tower. He did not say it directly at first. Cowards with audiences rarely do. By 10, a campus clip had stitched together the Graves security car outside Hudson Ridge Business Institute. My burnt-looking sleeve from the old studio clip, Ava Lind beside me at the burger shop, and one zoomed photo of me stepping out of Graves' tower in Vivian's jacket. The caption asked a question with its teeth showing. How many older women does one independent pretty boy need? By 10:30, the comments got worse. Some called me a bought man. Some said Ava had been replaced. Some said I was pretending to be bold while rich women passed me around behind black glass. Some tagged Rex without tagging him, which was how cowards invited applause without fingerprints. Eli found me near the campus courtyard with his phone white-knuckled in one hand and pure murder in his eyes, which on Eli looked like a kitten trying to file taxes. "Do not react," he said. "That is an opening sentence that guarantees the opposite. Jace, please. This is bait. Rex wants you to blow up on camera. Then he should stand closer. Eli shoved the phone in his pocket. I can find out who pushed the clip. No. I just need to ask 2 people. No. I am not helpless. The words hit harder because he said them quietly. I looked at him. Eli's jaw shook once, then steadied. You keep telling everyone not to own you. Let me be useful without treating me like baggage. That was an unfairly good point from a man wearing shoes that looked afraid of puddles. Fine, I said. Ask. Do not follow. Do not threaten. Do not turn into me. Nobody has the insurance for that. He walked off before I could change my mind. That was my mistake, not the letting him help part. That part was human. The mistake was believing Rex Malloy would attack me directly when Eli was softer, easier, and loyal enough to walk into ugly places if he thought it helped me. By noon, the campus fan swarm had found me. The smear had done the opposite of what Rex wanted with half the audience. People wanted to see if I looked guilty. People wanted to ask if Vivian Graves was really involved. People wanted to know if Ava Lind and I were dating. A few wanted selfies. A few wanted to touch my wrapped hands. I kept moving. Phones rose around me like weeds. Jace? Is Graves Group sponsoring you? Did Ava dump you? Are you Vivian's man now? I stopped so hard the woman nearest me almost ran into my shoulder. I belong to myself, I said. If that disappoints your group chat, mourn privately. That got laughs. It also got more phones. Then my phone buzzed with an unfinished voice message from Eli. I hit play. His voice came through breathless and too close to the microphone. Jace, I found 2 of Rex's followers by the old shower storage room. They said the first clip came from… Wait! Hey! What are you? The message cut off. The campus noise thinned in my ears. I did not investigate. I ran. There are kinds of fear that make a person stupid, and there are kinds that make the world simple. Eli was somewhere wet, trapped, and scared because he had tried to help me. That was the only useful fact. The maintenance hallway behind the athletic wing smelled like old tile and cleaning spray. I heard banging before I saw the door. Jace! Eli shouted from behind it. I hit the handle! Locked! The old me would have kicked it once and broken the frame. This body was not there yet. So I grabbed the metal trash bin beside the wall and slammed it into the door handle until the latch bent. On the 3rd hit, the door burst open. Cold water poured across the tile. Eli stumbled out of the storage shower soaked from hair to shoes, shaking so hard his teeth clicked. His pale jacket clung to him like a ruined flag. Red marks crossed one wrist where someone had zip-tied him to the shower rail before cutting him loose just enough to leave him trapped. He tried to smile. Good news, he said. I found the source. I caught him before his knees folded. Behind me, the first campus phone appeared at the hallway corner. I pointed at the woman holding it. Film if you want, but if you aim that at his face, I break the phone and apologize to the phone. She lowered it. Useful fear. Finally. Eli's breath hitched. They recorded me. Who? Rex's people. They said if I wanted to be your little guard dog, I should learn to like baths. Something cold and quiet opened in my chest. Not rage yet. Rage is loud. This was cleaner. This was where the room in my head went silent and started arranging consequences. Tara had hit Ava's security contact, the second Eli's message cut off. Ava arrived before campus staff did. I saw her first at the end of the hallway, moving faster than I had ever seen her move, with a family security alert flashing on her phone, and one campus safety woman jogging behind her like she regretted every life choice that had brought her there. Ava looked at Eli. Then she looked at the red marks on his wrist. Her calm face emptied. The campus safety woman said, "We need to bring this to administration." "No," I said. She stopped. I did not shout. I was holding Eli, and shouting would have made him flinch. Ava's voice came low and almost flat. "Who did this?" Eli's eyes flicked toward the courtyard. That was enough. I handed him my jacket, not Vivian's, mine, cheap, clean, and dry. "Put this on," I told him. Eli caught my sleeve. "Jace, do not get expelled for me. I am not going to administration. That is not reassuring." "Good. Reassurance is for people who haven't earned revenge yet." Ava followed me. "Stay with Eli," I said. "Ava!" Her eyes were not soft now. "They hurt him because of you." "I know. They will do worse if they think there is no cost." "I know. Then do not ask me to stand still." The campus safety woman tried again. "Miss Lind, please, this should go through the proper." Ava looked at her. The sentence died. That was the first time I saw Willowmere Estate in Ava without the walls. Not wealth, not arrogance. The inherited reflex that made staff, students, and safety officers remember her family name before they remembered policy. I grabbed her wrist before she moved past me. She looked down at my hand. "Do not maul anyone until I finish talking," I said. Ava blinked once. Then, for reasons I did not have time to survive emotionally, she nodded. Rex Malloy was in the central courtyard, exactly where a man went when he needed a crowd to make him brave. He had a phone in one hand, a small ring of followers around him, and enough campus spectators nearby to pretend he was not hosting a live execution. The smear clip played on one of his followers' screens. He turned when he heard the crowd shift. His smile came ready-made. "Jace!" Rex said, loud enough for phones to wake up. "Rough morning? Or did one of your sponsors forget to send security?" I walked through the fan swarm with Eli's soaked jacket in my hand. The courtyard quieted in layers. First the people nearest me, then the people who saw the jacket, then Rex when I dropped the wet fabric at his feet. Water spread across the concrete between his polished shoes. "Apologize to Eli," I said. Rex laughed once. "For what? Your friend has been chasing rumors all morning. Maybe he got lost." One of his followers made the mistake of smiling. Ava moved before I did. She crossed the space and slammed the follower back against a column with one hand fisted in the front of her jacket. The girl's phone hit the ground. Ava's forearm pressed just high enough to scare her and not high enough to injure her. The whole courtyard inhaled. Ava said with terrifying calm, "Say his name." The follower's face went white. I caught Ava by the shoulder. "Ava, she was there," Ava said. "I know," she laughed. "I know." Ava's hand shook. That scared me more than if she had screamed. I pulled her back 1 inch. "Not like this." For a second, I thought she would not listen. Then her fingers opened. The follower slid down the column, gasping more from fear than pain. That reaction did count. It changed everything. Because now the crowd understood 3 things at once. Eli had been hurt, Rex's side knew it, and Ava Lind was not the harmless quiet girl they had filed away behind a silver ring. Rex saw the room turn. He tried to rescue it with charm. "Everyone calm down," he said, raising his phone. "This is exactly what I warned people about. Jace brings violence and rich women wherever he goes." I stepped close enough that his camera caught my face and the wet jacket at his feet. "No," I said, "you brought my friend into a shower room because you could not beat me in daylight." His smile twitched. "I did not touch Eli." "Good. Then apologizing should be painless." "I am not apologizing for something I did not do. You are apologizing for making it happen." Rex's eyes flicked to the follower Ava had pinned. The crowd caught that too. A campus audience is a cruel animal. It loves confidence until it smells calculation. Then it loves collapse more. Phones moved closer. Rex lowered his voice. "You cannot prove anything." There it was, the procedural bait. I almost smiled. "I am not in court," I said. "I am in your audience." That line hit the crowd before it hit him. Rex's phone hand lowered. I stepped on the soaked jacket, pinning it between us. "You built your little brand on teaching men how to be admired without making powerful women uncomfortable," I said. "Then I ate lunch, opened my mouth, and made your whole act look like a scented candle with Wi-Fi. So you went after Eli." Rex's face flushed. "Apologize," I said, "or tell your live audience that locking a man in cold water is your new content strategy." A woman near the fountain muttered, "Is he live?" Rex's own screen betrayed him. Comments were flying. "Where is Eli? Why is the jacket soaked?" Did Rex know? Apologize. Rex read them. That was the moment he lost. Not because I had proof. Because his audience formed a prediction, and the only way to save himself was to answer it before I gave them a better show. His throat moved. I remembered the cafeteria. Same tiny swallow. Same public crack. This time, it tasted better. Rex looked into his own phone. "I apologize," he said. "To who?" I asked. His eyes cut to me. Hateful. I did not move. Rex looked back at the camera. "To Eli Camden." "Why?" For the behavior of people around me." I leaned closer. "No!" The crowd waited. Rex's jaw worked. "For what happened in the storage shower," he forced out. "It was wrong." "Again," I said. His eyes went wet with fury. "Good," he said it again. By the second apology, the crowd had already clipped it. By the third, Rex's face had gone pale under the perfect skin, and his followers had moved half a step away from him like bad luck was contagious. Eli was not magically unhurt. Rex was not destroyed forever. But in the same public ecosystem Rex tried to poison, he had apologized to the man his people humiliated, while Jace Corbin's fans swarm watched him tremble. I let the silence sit for one breath. Then I picked up Eli's soaked jacket and turned away before I gave Rex a clean counterattack. The medical bag entered the battlefield. Nora Keene walked into the courtyard with her Cedarwell Medical Center badge still clipped to her cardigan and a medical bag in one hand. She moved through the crowd like she had the right to be there, and people made space because adults with medical bags make everyone feel 12. She saw the follower on the ground, Ava's shaking hands, Rex's dead livestream, the wet jacket, and my face. Her smile was calm enough to be illegal. Ava, Nora said, if you damage her, your grandmother's lawyers will have to pretend this was a misunderstanding. Let Jace have his revenge without turning it into your family problem. Ava stared at Nora. Nora stared back. The courtyard felt suddenly too small for both of them. I said, Nora. She turned that doctor smile on me. Why did Ava get to protect you today? It was soft. It was almost teasing. It was not harmless. Ava heard the claim inside it. Her eyes narrowed. Rex, still standing near the fountain, noticed the look between them and forgot his humiliation for half a second because envy had found a new wound. Nora came to my side and took the wet jacket from my hand. Eli is cold. You are bleeding again. Rex is learning shame. We can move now. How did you know to come? I asked. Everyone posts you when they should be calling for help. That was true. It was also not the whole answer. She walked toward the maintenance hallway without waiting for permission, and I followed because Eli was still back there shaking in my jacket. Ava followed too. The joke stopped being about women staring at me. It had become a logistics problem with witnesses. Ava wanted to punish anyone who touched my people. Nora wanted to be the one allowed to care afterward. Vivian had already turned rescue into leverage. And I still owed Vivian Graves $100 million. By evening, Rex's apology had more views than his smear. Eli was dry, embarrassed, and furious that people kept sending him supportive messages with water emojis. Ava received a cold call from her family's security line and answered it with 2 words, I'm fine. She did not sound fine. Nora drove me home. She placed a clean jacket over my shoulders before I could object. Not Graves. Hers. Warm, plain, domestic. That made it more dangerous. In the passenger seat, my phone kept buzzing. Clips, comments, Rex apology edits, donation offers, people asking where to buy the black training shirt I kept wearing. Women asking if Corbin Standard was my style or just my attitude. I stared at that phrase. Corbin Standard. It had started as a joke in the comments. A label for the way I dressed, trained, refused ribbons, ate too much, and kept making people uncomfortable by having a spine in public. A joke could become a product. A product could become money. Money could become a fourth option. Nora glanced at the phone. Your little show has customers. I looked at her. She smiled at the road. Budget problem, she said, or opportunity? The debt note in my pocket pressed against my thigh. Rex had paid for Eli's humiliation in public. Ava had shown how dangerous loyalty could become. Nora had turned care into a coat on my shoulders. The next bill was already in my pocket and on every phone screen. If Vivian wanted $100 million and this world wanted to buy my image, then I needed to sell something before somebody sold me. After Rex apologized on his own stream, my reputation got cleaner. My bank account did not. That was the first ugly joke of the debt. Public sympathy felt like power until I remembered Vivian Graves had a folded note with $100 million on it and a broken Phoenix plate sitting in her vault. Clips could humiliate Rex. Donation rockets could buy training. None of that made a number that big. Flinch. Nora figured that out before breakfast. She set eggs, coffee, and a notebook in front of me at the Corbin Keene house like she was preparing surgery. No, I said, before she opened it. Nora smiled. You don't know what I was going to say. You are going to make a budget. I was going to make 4. That is worse. 1 with your current income, 1 with creator income, 1 with emergency help, 1 where you stop pretending pride earns compound interest. I took the coffee. She tapped the notebook. I can help. Not with money. I did not say money. Your face did. My face has excellent credit. I almost laughed, which annoyed me because Nora was good at making cages sound like jokes. A text from Ava arrived at the same time. I had told Ava the number, not the vault, not the plate, not Vivian's hands on my wrist. If the debt is real, I can help without making it public. I stared at the message longer than I should have. Ava did not ask what happened in Vivian's vault. She did not ask why the Phoenix plate mattered. She just offered help in the cleanest way she knew how. Quiet, direct, and too expensive to be harmless. I typed back, no. Her reply came almost instantly. Because it is money, or because it is mine, I wrote. Both. Ava did not answer for a while. Nora watched my face without pretending not to. Was that Ava? She asked. Maybe. She offered money. Maybe. You said no. Definitely. Nora poured more coffee into my cup. Good. I looked up. You are happy I refused help? I am happy you refuse help that turns into ownership. I am less happy you also refuse help that turns into breakfast, medicine, and basic arithmetic. Breakfast accepted, ownership rejected. Arithmetic under review. She leaned against the counter. Then review quickly. Vivian Graves will not let the debt stay abstract. Women like her turn numbers into collars. A knock hit the front door. Nora's smile faded before mine did. When I opened it, a grave security woman stood on the porch with a narrow black case in both hands. She did not step inside. She did not touch me. Graves Tower had learned at least that much. Vivian Graves asked that you receive this, the security woman said. I am not accepting gifts. It is not a gift. That is somehow worse. She opened the case. Inside, resting on black velvet, sat one red and gold shard of the phoenix plate. The painted bird's wing curved across the broken porcelain like it had been cut out of a fire. Beside it was a card in Vivian's handwriting. Confirm the value if doubt helps you move. No threat, no romance, no explanation. Just a shard of the thing I broke, delivered to my door like guilt with tracking. Nora stood behind me. I felt her go still. That is from Vivian? She asked. Dead reminder. The security woman looked at Nora, then back at me. Vivian Graves also said the shard remains Graves' property. You may show it to one qualified person. It comes back by sunset. Tell Vivian I love borrowing pressure. The security woman's mouth twitched once. I will not phrase it that way. Your loss. I took the case because refusing to confirm the number would be fear-wearing dignity. Nora closed the door after the security woman left. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Nora said, I hate that the shard is beautiful. So do I. Beautiful things were the worst traps in this world. Faces, jackets, black cards, estate gates, phoenix plate shards, they made ownership look like taste. I put the case on the table. Nora did not touch it. That restraint mattered more than she probably knew. Ava solved the confirmation problem with one sentence. My grandmother knows an antique dealer. One look, no contract. I stay outside if that makes it cleaner. I almost said no again. Then I looked at Vivian's shard, the debt note, Nora's budget notebook, and the comments still asking if my shirt came in sizes. The fourth option needed facts, not a process, not a hearing, not an hour of people in suits explaining history until my soul left my body. One look, one answer, then move. The antique dealer met us in a private side room near Riverside Mall, which made Eli very angry because he had been promised lunch and instead got porcelain trauma. His words, not mine. Ava stood outside the room with family security at a distance, arms folded, face calm in the way that meant she was trying not to interfere. The dealer did not get a name. She did not need one. She put on gloves, opened Vivian's case, looked at the shard for maybe 10 seconds, and lost the bored expression professionals use to keep rich people from feeling too special. Where is the rest? She asked. Broken, I said. Her eyes lifted. How broken? 3 pieces. Clean breaks? Mostly. She exhaled through her nose. Then the number is not a joke. Clean breaks can be restored. The value changes, but it does not die. 100 million? If the full phoenix plate is what this shard says it is, the insurance number may be conservative. Eli sat down on a chair that had not invited him. Conservative is my least favorite word now. I closed the case. That was enough. The debt was real. The shard was real. Vivian's trap was real. The answer did not free me. It lit the fuse. On the way out, Ava stopped me near the mall doors. You can still let me help, she said. No, I did not say money. You were going to. I was going to offer security. That is just money with shoes. Ava's eyes dropped. I hated that I had hurt her, but not enough to accept a quieter cage. Ava, I said, softer, you helped by getting me one answer. That matters. But I cannot pay Vivian's leash with yours. Her face stayed calm. Her fingers tightened around the strap of her bag. Then make your own money, she said. I plan to. Fast. That almost made me smile. Bossy for a quiet person. Quiet people still have clocks. Behind us, Eli held up his phone with a look of religious fear. Speaking of clocks, he said, your followers have apparently named your ugly black shirt. I took the phone. A clip from Rex's apology was trending, but the comments had drifted. People were not only talking about the apology now, they were asking where to buy the training shirt, the black jacket, the hand wraps, the practical clothes I kept choosing, because every soft garment in my closet looked like a surrender flag. One comment sat near the top. Corbin Standard. No pretty boy cage. Sell the shirt. Another had turned the phrase into a rough logo. Corbin Standard. The words looked arrogant. They also looked useful. By that evening, I went live without a game. The desk was in a borrowed creator room inside Riverside Mall, not my bedroom. Eli had refused to let me stream from home after strangers started guessing addresses, and for once, I let his panic win. Just me at the desk, hands in frame, one plain black training shirt folded beside the keyboard, a jacket on the chair, and the red moon mark hidden under a wrap. They were samples, not an empire, which made this either a launch or a public dare. I kept my face mostly out of view because refusing still paid better than showing everything. The viewer count rose fast. Chat wanted my face. Chat wanted gossip about Rex. Chat wanted to know if Vivian Graves had bought me. Chat wanted Ava. Chat wanted everything except the thing I intended to give them. I held up the shirt. This is not cute, I said. It is not soft. It is not designed so women can feel safer while telling you where to stand. It is a shirt you can train in, sweat in, get yelled at in, and still look like you have not apologized to your own reflection. The chat slowed. Then it exploded. Eli, who was sitting off camera against his will, whispered, "That was the worst commercial, and somehow the best one." I held up the jacket next. Same rule, pockets that hold things, fabric that moves, no ribbon loops, no decorative buttons that exist to make men look easy to grab. If you want to be displayed, go buy curtains. Donation rockets fired before I even mentioned price. That was useful and depressing. A message from Nora appeared on my phone. Curtains are expensive, charge more. I ignored the smile trying to form on my face. A message from Ava came next. Make smaller sizes too. Then Vivian's message landed. Bold, inefficient, profitable. I stared at it. Then I looked back at the camera. Limited pre-order opens tonight, I said. Corbin Standard. Practical jackets, training shirts, and one rule. I am not selling pretty. I am selling moving like you own your body. The live counter jumped. A verified apparel sponsor dropped an offer in the private creator window before I could open the sales page. Triple fee for full face modeling. Soft boyfriend angle recommended. I read it out loud because public humiliation worked better when the room saw the knife. The chat went insane. Some people begged me to take it. Some called it easy money. Some said I was stupid to turn down a sponsor while owing Vivian Graves. One comment asked whether a man with my face could afford principles. I looked at the camera and pulled the jacket on without showing my face. Here is the model shot, I said. Sleeves move, zipper works, pockets hold a phone, wraps, keys, and whatever dignity you have left after asking a stranger to become your boyfriend costume. Eli made a strangled sound off camera. The sponsor message disappeared. That was better than a contract signature. Then a campus account commented that Corbin Standard would get men followed, cornered, and laughed at because this world did not reward men who dressed like they had somewhere to go. I put both hands on the desk. Good warning, I said. Buy it only if you want clothes that assume your body belongs to you. If that offends someone, charge them for the education. The order counter started moving before I opened the official pre-order. That was the part no sponsor understood. The product was not fabric. The product was refusal with pockets. I stood back from the desk and did 10 push-ups on camera. They were not pretty. My ribs complained from yesterday's bruises and the push-ups I kept forcing through them. My wrists shook. The red moon mark stayed hidden under the wrap by pure spite. By the 7th push-up, chat stopped begging for my face. By the 10th, donation rockets covered the order preview. I stood breathing hard and pointed at the folded shirts. That is the fit test. If you wanted cute, I hope the disappointment builds character. The first pre-orders hit so fast, Eli slid off the chair. Jace, he said from the floor, you just insulted the customers into buying. I insulted the leash. Customers made their own choices. That was my cleanest sales pitch, and it was still rude enough to be mine. The limited drop went live through Skyline Live's storefront, and for once I did not explain the platform. I did not need to. The screen showed the only number that mattered. Available pre-order slots became sold slots. Slow at first, then fast, then stupid. By the 9-minute mark, the first run was gone. Eli made a sound that belonged in a hospital. Jace, he whispered, that is 6 figures. Gross. I am having a gross heart attack. The chat turned the sellout into its own show. Fans posted screenshots. Women who had wanted me to be cute started arguing about whether their boyfriends could wear Corbin Standard. Men who had worn safety ribbons started posting that they bought the jacket because it had no charm hook. Rex's followers tried to mock it and accidentally made the slogan, "Trend harder." Rex himself made one last small mistake before the warehouse made bigger ones. He posted a clipped reaction with that perfect soft smile and said, Corbin Standard, proved I was selling male insecurity back to desperate boys. The clip should have hurt. Instead, the comments under it filled with screenshots of his apology to Eli. Someone edited his tearful apology beside my sold-out counter. Someone else wrote, he sells jackets, you sell showers. Rex deleted the clip in 6 minutes. Too late. The deletion was petty money, and I kept it. Petty money spends too. The deletion told me Rex was not finished. It told me he was weaker, angrier, and looking for a dirtier route than public jokes. I should have treated that as a weather warning. Instead, I treated it like background noise because the sales counter was louder. The sellout did not free me. It opened a door. I watched the sellout number blink and felt something dangerous rise in my chest. Hope. I hated hope when it arrived early. Early hope makes men stupid. So I did the math before it could lie to me. Even after the launch, even if the second drop sold bigger, even if Skyline Live kept pushing me because public defiance printed money, I was nowhere near $100 million. I had proved I could earn. I had not proved I could escape. Then the warehouse van found me. I could have gone home with Ava's security. I could have called Nora and let her turn concern into a ride, soup, and another quiet check of my wrists. I could even have answered Vivian's message and let Grave security put a black wall around me. Instead, I told Eli we were taking Vivian's shard case to the service courier ourselves and using the service exit because crowds had formed near the main doors, and I was tired of being protected in public. Eli looked at the service lane and said, "That sentence is how people die in cheap thrillers." He was right. Again, that was the cost of refusing every easier ride in front of witnesses. I learned later that the tip began with one of Rex's last hanger-ons. Somebody had seen me leave the antique dealer with Vivian's shard, watched the Corbin Standard sell out, and fed the rumor to women who did not care whether I was a creator, debtor, or person. At the time, all I saw was a side door opening near the service lane outside the mall and two women moving like they had rehearsed. One bumped Eli, the other shoved a cloth bag over the black case in my hand. The third grabbed my arm from behind. Ava's security was too far away because I had insisted on walking without a wall around me. That was pride. The sliding van door was consequence. I drove my heel down on the first woman's foot and turned into the grab. My elbow caught her jaw. The black case hit the pavement. The shard stayed inside, thank God, or the very rude goddess watching from whatever red cloud counted as her balcony. Eli shouted my name. A hand caught my wrapped wrist. Pain flashed white. Then a stun baton cracked near my ribs, not full contact, just enough to make my body forget its own plan. They dragged me into the van. The door slammed. The city disappeared. For a few seconds I fought blind, knees, elbows, teeth if I got close enough. This body was stronger than it had been that first morning. Training had done something, anger had done more. But numbers are numbers. 3 women in the van, 1 driving, 1 on my wrist, 1 with a knee in my ribs. The warehouse waited 10 minutes later under dead lights and corrugated metal. They hauled me out, took my phone, took the black case, and dumped me onto concrete like a package that had talked too much. The woman in charge wore work gloves and a bright smile with no warmth. The warehouse boss did not get a name either. She got one line. Pretty shipment arrived. I laughed from the floor because pain had destroyed my patience. "Your branding is terrible," she crouched in front of me. "You carry Graves' property, sell out products in minutes, and make rich girls stupid. Do you know what you're worth? Apparently everyone has a different estimate. Very annoying." She slapped me. It was a hard slap. Not seductive, not playful. A business correction from a predator who did not like inventory talking back. The old me would have hit back immediately. The current me waited half a second because the warehouse boss had made her mistake. She thought my pride was the first weapon. It was not. My first weapon was the metal bar lying beside a stack of pallets. When the woman holding my left arm shifted to laugh, I dropped my weight, twisted hard enough to make my shoulder scream, and kicked the bar toward my hand. The warehouse boss saw it too late. I came up swinging. The bar hit her wrist with a crack that changed the whole building. She screamed. That scream was worth 3 strategy meetings and every polite complaint Hudson Ridge Business Institute could ever invent. The woman with the baton rushed me. I slammed the bar into her knee. The third grabbed my back, and I drove her into a pallet until wood splintered behind us. For 10 beautiful seconds the pretty shipment had handling instructions. Then the numbers came back. 2 more crew members burst in from the side office. One tackled my legs, another caught the bar. My injured wrist folded wrong under weight. I hit the concrete hard enough that light popped behind my eyes. The warehouse boss stood over me, cradling her broken wrist, tears of pain ruining her smile. "You're going to wish Vivian bought you first?" she hissed. The red moon mark burned under my wrap. I spat blood onto the floor. "Tell her to bid faster." The overhead lights flickered. At first I thought it was the mark, then the whole warehouse shook with a sound too large for the roof. A helicopter. The warehouse crew looked up. The boss's face went from rage to disbelief to real fear. That reaction mattered. Because street predators could handle a man with a bar. They could not handle the sky belonging to Vivian Graves. Of course Vivian had tagged her own shard case. Of course I found that out after it mattered. The warehouse doors blew inward under Graves Security's battering ram before the helicopter fully settled outside. Black suits poured in. Calm, fast, brutal. No speeches, no legal explanation, no dramatic countdown, just private power turning the warehouse boss's territory into a room she no longer owned. One crew member ran. A Graves security woman put her into the concrete without raising her voice. Another crew member lifted both hands and cried, "Useful, efficient, very Vivian." Then Vivian walked in. She wore a black coat over a suit and looked at the warehouse like it had personally insulted her schedule. Her eyes found me on the floor. Then the split in my lip. Then the crushed wrap around my wrist. Then the warehouse boss cradling her broken hand. Vivian's face did not soften. It got colder. "Who touched his wrist?" she asked. Nobody answered. The silence confessed enough. Vivian stepped over broken wood and stopped beside me. I pushed up on one elbow because being rescued while lying down felt like losing twice. "Do not," I said, "look satisfied." Vivian knelt, checked my eyes with 2 fingers under my chin, and ignored the warning like an expert. "I am not satisfied," she said. "I am late." That was worse. She lifted me, actually lifted me. One arm under my back, one under my knees, like I weighed less than the debt note in my pocket. The warehouse crew saw it, grave security saw it. The helicopter lights outside caught us at exactly the angle I would have chosen if I were a director hired to make Vivian look like my savior and owner in the same shot. I hated how good it looked. "Put me down," I muttered. "You are bleeding." "I bleed vertically. Not today." She carried me toward the doors while the warehouse boss watched her entire operation collapse around a man she had called shipment. I had fought. I had broken the boss's wrist. I had made every woman in that warehouse understand I was not cargo. Then Vivian arrived from the sky and made the whole fight look like a preview before the real power entered. The helicopter swallowed us into noise. As it lifted from the ground, I saw Ava's car racing into the warehouse lot below with Eli half out of the back seat before the vehicle fully stopped. Ava looked up at the helicopter, and even from that height I could read the guilt on her face. She had been too late. Vivian had not. That consequence was going to cost me. Inside the helicopter, Vivian buckled me in herself. I hated that too. Her fingers moved quickly, professionally, and did not linger. The restraint clicked across my chest. "Debt increased?" I asked. "Medical costs are on me." "Romantic. Asset preservation. That word is why nobody trusts you." She leaned close enough for me to hear her over the blades. "Trust is not required for survival." I looked out the window at the shrinking warehouse, the black cars, the flashing phone in Ava's hand below. "No," I said, "but it matters after." Vivian did not answer. By the time we reached Graves Tower, the warehouse clip had already begun leaking from 3 angles. Corbin's standard orders spiked again because apparently getting kidnapped in your own jacket was excellent marketing. The Phoenix plate shard was back in Graves' hands. The warehouse boss was on her knees beside a broken wrist and no territory worth bragging about. Vivian thought the rescue strengthened her claim. Ava thought her delay had endangered me. Nora texted one line that made my stomach colder than the helicopter ride. "Do not let either of them decide where you sleep." Then the elevator doors opened inside Graves Tower and the lobby noise shifted. Ava Lind stood at the security gate with 2 family guards behind her, her calm face gone sharp enough to cut glass. "Give him back," Ava said. The helicopter had not even finished cooling on the roof. Ava had already stormed the tower. Ava Lind did not raise her voice at the Graves Tower gate. That made it worse. She stood in front of Graves security with 2 family guards behind her, her hair wind-tangled from rushing in, her hands empty, and her face so calm that every guard in the lobby looked more nervous than if she had screamed. "Give him back," Ava said. Vivian Graves stood beside the private elevator with my blood still on one cuff of her coat, and the expression of a woman who considered the whole lobby an inconvenience. "Jace is under Graves' protection," Vivian said. "I did not ask what you named the cage." The lobby went silent. I was standing between them with a bandage near my ribs, a split lip, and the sudden understanding that warehouse kidnappers were easier to manage than 2 powerful women deciding who had the cleaner claim. Vivian's mouth curved. "You are very bold for someone whose security lost him in a surface lane." Ava's face did not change. Vivian had found the wound and pressed it cleanly. Ava stepped forward. "He is not cargo, staff, or your debt toy." "No," Vivian said. "He is a debtor with enemies who now understand that touching him brings helicopters." "I saw the helicopter." "Good. Then you understand which of us arrived." Ava's eyes flicked to me for 1 second. "Guilt. Fast. Ugly. Hers. I hated seeing it there." "Vivian," I said. She did not look away from Ava. "Jace broke an object tied to my family for 4 generations. He is safer near the person who can keep that debt from becoming a public feeding frenzy." Ava's voice stayed quiet. "If money is the issue, my family can." "No," I said. Both women finally looked at me. The same words stopped them for different reasons. Ava, because I had refused her again. Vivian, because she had expected me to refuse Ava and hated that it still pleased her. I stepped away from Vivian's side, which made 2 Grave security women shift. I pointed at them without looking. "Do not." They stopped. That was new. Not victory, not freedom. But after the warehouse rescue, Vivian's people knew I would make a scene even with blood in my mouth. I faced Ava first. "You are not paying my debt. Her jaw tightened. I know. You were about to offer. I was about to offer an exit. That is how every leash introduces itself. Then I looked at Vivian. And I am not staying here because your rescue looked expensive. Vivian's eyes narrowed. It was expensive. Then send the invoice to the warehouse boss. She will not have a warehouse by morning. Great. Progress. Ava stepped closer. You are hurt. Popular theme, Vivian said. He needs medical supervision, Ava said. From someone who does not use supervision as a claim. Vivian smiled. You mean yourself? Ava's hand moved half an inch. Vivian noticed. I noticed. Everyone noticed. The lobby formed the prediction all at once. Quiet heiress versus former soldier, CEO, grave security versus Lind family guards, and me standing in the middle like a debt note with cheekbones. No, not this time. I walked past both of them. Vivian turned first. Where are you going? Home, Ava followed. I'll drive you. Oh, Vivian said. Take the car. No. Jace, both of you heard me. I kept walking. That was the face slap, not a punch, not a speech. I walked out while Vivian Graves and Ava Lind were still arranging the argument over who got to protect me. The lobby saw it. The guards saw it. A receptionist pretending not to record absolutely saw it. Behind me, Vivian spoke to one of her security women. Get him a car! I said no car. Vivian's voice sharpened. Then buy the taxi if the driver hesitates. I stopped and looked back. Ava blinked. Even her family guards looked confused. The security woman actually walked outside, spoke to the taxi driver at the curb, showed a black card, and came back with the driver's eyes wide enough to prove Vivian had solved public transportation through corporate violence. I stared at Vivian. Did you just financially assault a taxi? You refused the limo. I did not request capitalism with doors. Ava's mouth twitched despite herself. Vivian did not smile, but her eyes warmed with the satisfaction of a woman who had technically obeyed and still made it weird. I got in the taxi because arguing would have turned the sidewalk into another clip. Ava reached for the door, then stopped herself. That restraint hurt more than if she had grabbed me. Text me when you arrive, she said. Vivian stood behind her and said, Graves, security will confirm. I leaned out of the taxi. If either of you follows me, I am jumping out at the next light and making this the driver's problem. The taxi driver whispered, Please don't. See? I said. One person respects boundaries. The door closed. The taxi pulled away while Vivian and Ava stood outside Graves Tower looking ridiculous, powerful, furious, and very much not done. The driver kept checking me in the mirror. Not because of the blood. Because the meter had been prepaid with whatever number Vivian's security woman had flashed at him, and the poor man looked like he was afraid the taxi had accidentally become a subsidiary. You okay back there? He asked. No. He nodded like that was the answer he expected. Those women yours? I looked out the window at the tower shrinking behind us. That is the exact sentence that keeps making my life worse. He raised both hands off the wheel for half a second, then remembered driving was useful. Understood. My phone buzzed. A clip had already gone up. Of course it had. The angle was bad, shaky, and perfect for gossip. Ava at the gate, Vivian in black, me walking past both, the taxi driver staring at a black card like he had just met the national debt. The caption called it a love triangle. The comments called it a war. One comment said, Vivian bought the taxi because she could not buy me fast enough. Another said, Ava looked like she was about to buy the road. A third asked when Nora would enter the fight. I put the phone face down, too late. The world had already learned a new game. Every woman near me was a scoreboard, and every refusal was a clip. For 10 minutes, I thought that was the day's strangest emotional problem. Then I got home. Nora was waiting at the Corbin Keene house with food on the table, fresh bandages beside the plate, and an expression that said she already knew about the helicopter, the warehouse, the tower gate, and possibly the taxi's credit score. Did Vivian carry you? She asked. Or did Ava get a turn? I stopped in the doorway. Hello to you too? Nora's smile was gentle. The soup was hot. The bandages were lined up perfectly. The domestic trap had a better kitchen. I saw the clip, she said. Which one? All of them. Terrible hobby. Necessary hobby. I sat because my ribs hurt and because standing in protest had lost value after the warehouse floor. Nora moved close enough to check my bandage, then paused. May I? I nodded. She worked with quick, professional hands. No wasted motion, no dramatic flinching, no questions about Red Moon Lab, no questions about the shard, no questions about why Vivian looked like she wanted to put me behind glass and Ava looked like she wanted to fight the glass barehanded. That silence did not comfort me. It waited. Nora taped the bandage down. You should not sleep alone tonight. That was fast. I am learning to answer before the leash develops vocabulary. She laughed softly. Fine, then at least let me be nearby. You are always nearby. That line changed her face. Only for a second. Then the doctor's smile returned. I live here, she said. So do I. Allegedly. She brushed the edge of the bandage with 2 fingers, not touching skin longer than necessary. Tomorrow, I need a favor. No, you haven't heard it. You opened with timing? One of the male residents at Cedarwell Medical Center keeps following me after shifts. My answer stopped in my throat. Nora saw it and used the opening with surgical precision. He does not scare me, she said. He annoys me. He thinks my no is negotiation because I am nice at work. I want him to see me with someone and stop. Report him. I did. Good. He got a warning. Now he waits near the parking entrance and smiles like paperwork made him romantic. That sounded exactly like this world, only turned sideways. In a female-dominant society, men were often protected, softened, excused, and handled like delicate public property. A man using that softness to make a woman look cruel if she rejected him too hard was the same ugly song in a different key. What do you want me to do? I asked. Riverside Mall, tomorrow afternoon. Walk with me, let him see we are together. Nothing dramatic. Nobody invites me anywhere for nothing dramatic. Nora smiled. Then make it mildly dramatic. I should have refused. I had Vivian's debt, Ava's guilt, warehouse bruises, Corbin's standard orders, and a red moon mark that kept warming every time desire turned into ownership. But Nora had fed me, patched me, burned Vivian's jacket, and never once asked me to confess what I was. Also, a man who ignored a woman being followed because his own life was complicated did not get to call himself free. Fine, I said. No stunts. Nora's smile did something small and satisfied. Of course, she said. That should have warned me. The next afternoon, Riverside Mall was bright, loud, and full of people pretending not to recognize me while recognizing me aggressively. Corbin's Standard had sold out again after the warehouse clip, which meant half the mall was now staring at the man whose jacket got kidnapped, better advertising than money could buy. 2 women near a storefront pointed at my jacket and then at Nora. One whispered, "Is that the doctor's sister?" The other whispered back, "Or girlfriend now?" Nora heard it. She did not correct them. She only adjusted my sleeve like lint had offended her, and the whispering women reacted like she had signed a public claim across my chest. I looked down at her hand. Nora smiled without looking up. Lint. That lint had an audience. Most things around you do. Another tiny move. Another public seed. Not enough to call betrayal. Enough to make my skin remember the Graves jacket burning in our fireplace. That was how Nora operated before the mask cracked. Vivian made power loud. Ava made loyalty obvious when she lost control. Nora made one small domestic gesture and let everyone else build the cage for her. That made her harder to fight. Nora wore a simple dress under a long coat, her Cedarwell Medical Center badge tucked away for once. She looked softer without scrubs. Not weaker, softer like a knife wrapped in cloth. Where is he? I asked. Near the fountain. Convenient. He likes public spaces. He thinks I won't be rude where people can see. People keep making that mistake around me too. Nora's fingers brushed my sleeve. I know. The male coworker appeared right where she said he would. He was good-looking in the approved, soft way, with careful hair, a cardigan, and a wounded expression prepared before he reached us. He looked at Nora first, then at me, then at our distance. Nora, he said, I didn't know you were here. That was a lie. I knew because he looked at the camera above the fountain before he finished saying it. Small detail. Useful detail. Nora slipped her hand around my arm. Now you do, she said. The coworker's face tightened. I was worried about you. You stopped answering. That means stop contacting me, Nora said. He smiled sadly, and the expression annoyed me so deeply I almost respected it. I just thought after everything at the hospital, you would understand I care. I stepped forward. Nora's hand tightened on my arm. Not warning, invitation. I looked at him. She said no. This is the part where you practice hearing it. His eyes flicked to my face. Recognition landed. Then envy. Then fear, because he knew enough from the clips to understand I was not the type of pretty man who apologized to keep a room smooth. You are Jace Corbin, he said. Tragic for both of us. He looked at Nora. You're using him? Nora's voice stayed sweet. I asked for help. The coworker's gaze dropped to her hand on my arm. Family help? He asked. There it was, the old safe zone label. Nora's fingers flexed. I should have hated the next part before it happened. Instead, I understood the trap only after I walked into it. Nora looked up at me and said, quietly enough that only I could hear, only if you want to make it impossible. The same choice language Ava used. My stomach tightened. I knew what she was asking. A public line. A visible claim. One kiss short enough to be deniable and clear enough to kill the coworker's fantasy. I should have said no because my life was already crowded with women using public moments to rearrange private claims, but he had followed her. He had turned her no into a performance. And I was tired of men and women both treating refusal like a door they could keep jiggling until it opened. So I chose. I leaned down and kissed Nora once. Short. Public, controlled, no hands wandering, No heat for the crowd, just enough to make the coworker's face lose the fake heartbreak and show the ugly calculation under it. The fountain area reacted immediately. Phones lifted. Someone gasped for the right reason this time. Nora's hand trembled on my arm. The coworker stepped back. I didn't know. You knew enough, I said. Leave her alone. He left. The public kiss worked. Then the coworker walked away with the wrong face. Not destroyed, relieved. Wrong reaction. I watched him turn into the corridor near the parking entrance. Nora tried to tug my arm toward the opposite direction. Coffee? She asked. I did not move. Nora, I said, her hand stilled. Why did he look relieved? Her smile stayed in place too long. There are many reasons a man might feel relieved after avoiding conflict. That was a hospital answer. Try a human one. She let go of my arm. I followed the coworker at a distance. Nora followed me because the performance was over and the real scene had started. We reached the parking corridor in time to hear him speak into his phone. You said if I showed up she would finally answer me, he said. You did not say he would be here. Nora stopped behind me. The coworker turned, saw us, and went pale. He did not need a name. He did not need a second line. His face gave the whole setup enough air to stand. I looked at Nora. The mall noise continued behind us. Bright stores, smooth music, people buying things, the normal world refusing to pause for the moment. Home cracked open. Tell me, I said. Nora's doctor smile finally died. Not faded. Died. Since I had met her, Nora had worn calm like armor. Now she looked 25, exhausted, furious at herself, and still not sorry enough. He was real enough to be a problem, she said. I made sure he found us today. Because you would not come, just because I was jealous. Clean confession. Ugly. Useful. I stepped back once. Nora's eyes flashed with panic, then steadied. Jace, no! Keep going! The coworker tried to leave. I pointed at him without looking away from Nora. If you take one step, I make you part of this conversation again. He stayed. Nora swallowed. I knew you before our parents married, she said. Not like this. Not the version who looks at me like I am a locked door. The quieter you. The softer you. My chest tightened. The Jace from before me had left posts, videos, handwriting, old surrender all over this life. I had seen Vivian put them on a wall. Hearing Nora speak of him in a mall parking corridor made the body under my skin feel borrowed again. When? I asked. When we were younger. Our parents knew some of the same people. You sat with me once during a hospital charity event when I was scared. Her mouth twisted. You probably forgot. I did not. That does not explain this. No, she said. It explains the first thread. The rest is worse. Good. At least she knew. Nora looked toward the mall entrance, then back to me. Years later, I found your father's name again through my mother. Mr. Corbin was lonely. My mother was tired. I told her he was kind. I made every dinner easy. I pushed every meeting softer. I wanted them to choose each other. I stared at her. The corridor felt too narrow. You pushed your mother toward my father so you could be near me. Her eyes shone. She did not cry. That would have been easier to hate. Yes. The word was quiet. It still hit like a slammed door. The safe zone was never neutral. The Corbin Keene house, Nora's soup, the budget notebook, the burned jacket, her waiting at the hallway, her knowing how close to stand, how long to pause, when to ask permission, when to joke, when to make warmth feel like rescue. It had a history. It had a strategy. It had me inside it before I knew there was a board. Did Mr. Corbin know? I asked. No. Mrs. Keene? No. Not like that. Not like that is doing heavy labor. Nora flinched. Good. Did you want him? I asked. The old version? She looked at me for a long second. Then she said the line that made everything worse. I loved the boy who needed me, Nora said. Then the red moon happened, and you came home looking at every cage like you wanted to burn it. I thought I had lost him. Then I realized I wanted the man who could leave. The red moon mark flared under my sleeve. I grabbed my wrist. Nora saw the movement. Her eyes sharpened, but she did not ask. Not yet. Even now, she knew when not to push. The coworker made a small frightened sound. I had forgotten he was there. Leave, I told him. He left fast. Nora and I stood alone in the parking corridor with the echo of the public kiss still spreading through the mall behind us. Was the stalker real? I asked. He was annoying, persistent, useful. That is disgusting. Yes. Was the kiss real? Her breath caught. There was the question she had wanted and dreaded. No, she said first. Then her voice broke smaller. Yes, I staged the moment. I did not fake wanting it. That honesty did not save her. It made the damage cleaner. You turned family into access, I said. Nora stepped toward me. I stepped back. She stopped immediately. That restraint hurt because it proved she knew exactly what the line was. I did not force our parents, she said. I did not drug anyone. I did not buy anyone. I did not trap you in a room. You trapped the route. Her face went pale. Good. People like Vivian built cages out of contracts. Roxy built cages out of knives. Rex built cages out of gossip. Nora built hers out of dinner, medicine, timing, and the word home. It was the prettiest cage so far. That made it the most dangerous one. I walked past her toward the mall exit. Nora did not follow for 5 steps. Then she did. Jace, she said, I know I made it ugly, but I am not Vivian. No! Vivian tells me when she wants to own the room. Nora stopped. That one hurt her. I kept walking because if I stayed, it might soften, and softening too early was how this world got its hands around men and called it love. Outside, my phone started buzzing so hard it felt like another attack. The first notification was the public kiss clip. Of course it was. Riverside Mall had given the internet exactly what it wanted. Jace Corbin kissing Nora Keene in front of a stunned follower. One day after Ava Lind had stormed Graves Tower and Vivian Graves had carried me out of a helicopter rescue. The comments did not ask if I was safe. They asked which woman had won. None of them had. That was the problem. Then a message from Ava arrived. Was that real? I closed my eyes for 1 second. Vivian's message came next. Busy day for a man avoiding claims. Then Nora's phone buzzed behind me, and she looked down at it with a face I could not read. My own phone lit up a third time with a formal invite from Graves Group to Corbin Standard. Featured creator brand launch. Caldera K. Live audience, sponsor stage, debt exposure. The message was short and sharp. Corbin Standard has a slot if you are brave enough to sell independence in public. Under it, another line from Skyline Live confirmed the same thing. Corbin Standard's second drop numbers had pushed me into the featured creator list. Graves Group owned the sponsor stage. Vivian would be there. Ava's family had donor access. Cedarwell Medical Center was staffing the event. Nora looked up from her phone. Medical staff, she said quietly. They asked Cedarwell Medical Center for volunteers. Ava texted again. Do not go with Vivian alone. Vivian sent one more line. Caldera K will move the debt faster than hiding at home. The red moon mark under my sleeve pulsed hard enough that I almost cursed. Vivian and Ava had collided at the gate. Nora's safe home mask had cracked open in a mall corridor. Every woman with a claim had become active. Then the island put a camera in front of all of them. It was an island launch with cameras, sponsor banners, Corbin Standard orders, Rex still bleeding for relevance, and all 3 women holding separate reasons to appear. I had wanted to stop being a prize. Caldera K was about to put me on display. Caldera K did not look like a trap from the helicopter feed. It looked worse. It looked like a paycheck. Bright water, white sponsor tents, black cameras on smooth tracks, Graves Group banners snapping in the wind, a live audience counter already climbing above the stage, and a Corbin Standard display set near the center like somebody had built a shrine to my bad decisions and added price tags. The first rush batch had barely made it to the island tables. Eli Camden watched the island feed over my shoulder and whispered, Please tell me we're not going. We're not going, I said. He exhaled. We're selling independence in public, different disease. Eli covered his face with both hands. I miss when your worst habit was offending beverages. The Caldera K invite had arrived several ugly days after the warehouse clip because Corbin Standard's second limited drop had sold out after the rescue footage. The debt to Vivian Graves was still $100 million. The Phoenix plate shard was back in her vault. My body still hurt when I breathed too deeply. Nora Keene's public kiss had turned home into gossip. Ava Lynn's guilt from the warehouse still sat in my phone as short, careful messages. Vivian's helicopter rescue had given the internet a new favorite angle of me being carried like expensive damage. So, yes, I went. Not because Vivian wanted me there, not because the cameras wanted me there, because hiding at home would make Nora's warmth into a cage, hiding at Willowmere Estate would make Ava's guilt into one, and hiding in Graves Tower would hand Vivian a leash with a security badge. Caldera K was public. Public meant ugly. Public also meant nobody could quietly call ownership protection without giving me a microphone first. The island hit me with heat, salt, and spectacle the moment we stepped off the launch boat. Eli came because he said somebody needed to apologize to the ocean if I started a fight with it. He wore sunglasses too large for his face and carried a first aid kit Nora had forced on him. I am not medical staff, Eli said as we crossed the dock. You are moral support. I am moral opposition. Still useful. The dock opened into the sponsor stage area. Caldera K had been turned into a live-streamed creator brand launch with just enough survival decoration to make rich people feel rugged. There were product tables, camera platforms, water stations, climbing ropes, a shoreline route marked with colored flags, and a big screen showing the Skyline Live audience counter. The counter jumped when my face hit the entry camera. Of course it did. A stage coordinator stepped toward me with a soft towel, a branded wristband, and the nervous smile people used when they wanted to manage me without being bitten. "Jace Corbin, welcome to Caldera K," she said. "We have a comfort tent ready for male creators." I looked at the towel, then at the cameras. "Does the tent come with a lid?" The coordinator froze. Eli took the towel from her before I could turn it into a felony. "He means thank you." "No," I said. "He means I can sweat outside." The live audience counter jumped again. "Good. Let them know early." Vivian Graves arrived from the sponsor platform like the island had been waiting for permission to stand straighter. Black sleeveless jacket, dark pants, no waisted jewelry, no softness. Graves' security moved behind her in a clean line. She looked at the bandage under my open jacket. "You should not be doing a coastal route today. I should not owe you $100 million either, but here we are. The debt is why you're here." "No, the debt is why I'm selling. I am here because I chose the arena." Vivian's jaw worked once. She did not argue in front of the camera. For a woman who hated restraint unless she owned it, that was not nothing. Ava Lind reached the stage next through the donor entrance with 2 Lind security women behind her, and no interest in pretending she was casual. She wore light clothes for the island heat, but her calm face was locked tight enough to make the air around her feel expensive. She looked me over once, ribs to wrist to face. "You're walking the route?" Ava asked. "Selling the clothes." "That is not an answer. It is the one that pays." Ava's mouth tightened. "I can put Lynn's security on the route, quietly," Vivian said. "Graves' security already reviewed it." Ava looked at her. "The same Graves security that reviewed the warehouse after he was inside it?" The nearest camera operator forgot to pretend not to listen. Vivian's smile turned dangerous. "You arrived late there too." Ava's hand twitched. I stepped between them before the island got a richer version of a bar fight. "No one is putting a wall around me on camera," I said. "Not Graves, not Lind, not anyone with a badge, a black card, or family guilt." Nora Keene appeared behind the medical tent in Cedarwell Medical Center gear, hair tied back, badge visible, mouth curved in a doctor smile that should have been illegal after what she had confessed at Riverside Mall. "Good," Nora said. "Then I will be the one with bandages when that stupid sentence starts bleeding." Eli pointed at her. "Finally, a practical woman." Nora looked at him. "I packed you gloves. I withdraw praise." The audience loved the triangle before I could deny it. The live comments rolled across the big screen beside the stage. Vivian. Ava. Nora, which one wins? Corbin Standard Island War. Is Jace brave or bought? I stared at the screen. "Turn off romance comments," I told the coordinator. The coordinator winced. "Engagement is very strong, so is infection. Treat it." The comments stayed. Vivian's gaze went to the big screen. Ava's face went colder. Nora's smile sharpened. 3 women with 3 different kinds of claims stood around me while strangers turned the whole thing into a scoreboard. That was the public arena. The source of the money and the humiliation in one clean shot. The coordinator tried to steer me toward a white stool under soft lights for the founder interview. The stool looked like it had been chosen by someone who believed men should perch, not stand. A stylist with a headset lifted a brush toward my hair. I stepped around both. "No stool," I said. The coordinator blinked. "The sponsor camera angle is set. Then move the camera." Vivian watched from the sponsor platform without helping. Ava looked like she wanted to remove the stool personally. Nora opened the first aid kit and muttered, "If he fights furniture, I am not billing Cedarwell Medical Center." The audience counter jumped again. They wanted the furniture fight. Fine, I gave them something better. I dragged the product rack into the center of the stage myself. Training shirts, jackets, pants with pockets deep enough to hold a phone without making a man carry a tiny decorative bag for public comfort. The sponsor host tried to hand me a approved line about confidence, safety, and expressive masculinity. I read it once. Then I held the card up to the camera. "Whoever wrote this thinks confidence is a scented candle," I said. "Corbin Standard is not here to make men look safe while strangers price them. The clothes move, the seams hold, the pockets work. If a woman grabs the jacket, it tears at the break seam before it tears your shoulder. If a man wants to sit on a white stool and be admired, good for him. I am selling the outfit for the man who stands up when the stool feels like a leash." The crowd did not cheer at first. It made a rougher sound. "Recognition!" The order counter on the big screen started moving before the stage host recovered. Vivian's mouth curved like she hated that the numbers proved me right. Ava's eyes dropped to the break seam sample with sudden approval. Nora's expression changed when she saw the tear-away shoulder patch. Medical, practical, annoyed at being impressed. Eli looked at the counter and whispered, "You just insulted a chair into revenue." The chair started it. The stage host tried to reclaim the interview. "Would you say Graves Group sponsorship has helped you feel protected enough to create this brand?" Vivian's eyes sharpened. There it was. A clean little corporate leash, wrapped as gratitude. I looked at the sponsor host, then at the crowd. Graves! Group sponsored the stage, I said. I built the brand because I got tired of stages deciding where a man is allowed to stand. The counter jumped again. That line cost me something with Vivian. I saw it in her jaw. It bought me more with the audience. I saw that in the numbers. The order counter kept moving. Then Envy found a microphone. Rex Malloy walked onto the commentary platform. I laughed before I could stop myself. Eli whispered, "No, absolutely not. Why is he here?" Rex wore a pale resort jacket and a smile polished so hard it looked freshly glued. He had lost the cafeteria, lost the apology, lost the Corbin standard mockery, and still somehow found a microphone. That was what Envy did when it ran out of dignity. It hunted for equipment. Rex waved at the audience camera. Caldera K deserves honest commentary, especially when certain creators build brands on pretending their rich female sponsors don't exist. The crowd made the useful sound, not shock. Prediction. Vivian's eyes moved to the stage coordinator. The coordinator went pale. He had a guest segment through Skyline Live Audience Demand. Audience Demand, I said. Cowardice with analytics. Rex's smile twitched because he heard me through the stage monitor. Jace Corbin, Rex said into the microphone. If Corbin's standard is really about independence, why are Vivian Graves, Ava Lind, and Nora Keane all standing close enough to catch you when you fall? The crowd reacted. Rex lifted his phone. On the screen was a stitched clip of Vivian carrying me from the helicopter, Ava at Graves' tower, Nora's public kiss, and my Corbin standard order counter. The caption was ugly and simple. Bought by 3 women, sold as independence. There was the final smear. Bigger stage, better cameras, worse timing. Rex looked straight into the main lens. The order spike is not bravery, it is female money laundering a pretty boy's ego. Eli inhaled sharply. Ava's security shifted. Vivian said, very softly, I can remove him. No, I said, I can sell over him. I walked onto the stage before anyone could stop me. The sponsor host tried to hand me a talking points card. I put it face down on the podium. Rex, I said into the microphone, you keep calling me bot because you cannot understand a man getting paid without kneeling first. The stage crowd popped. Rex laughed into his mic. Then prove it. Coastal product test. Hard route. No personal guard holding your hand. No heiress rescue. No CEO helicopter. No doctor sister patching your courage together before the finish line. Nora muttered from the medical tent. I hate him with clinical precision. The big screen showed the route map, beach sprint, rope climb, cliff walk, cave flare checkpoint, finish platform. It was stupidly theatrical, and exactly the kind of public test Corbin standard was built to survive. The coordinator had repeated one rule twice. Red flare meant competitor emergency. Cameras and staff moved first, questions later. It was also a trap. Not because of the route, because Rex wanted a binary. Refuse, and I was a fraud protected by women, except, and every slip became proof that my independence was a costume. The audience saw the question. That made it useful. Could the pretty boy who sold refusal actually take the hard route on camera? I took off the mic, pulled on the Corbin standard jacket, and faced the main lens. Hard route, I said. Cameras stay on. If I fall, clip it clean. If I finish, buy 2. The order counter jumped before I reached the sand. That was why I hated and loved public stages. They punished weakness, but they paid for nerve. Vivian caught my arm at the route gate. I looked at her hand. She let go before I had to say it. The cave section is not necessary, Vivian said. The tide is moving faster than scheduled. Then tell your stage people to quit building masculine branding around fake danger. I did not design the route, but your logo is on the banner. Ava stepped in on my other side. If something looks wrong, stop. You do not have to win every dare. Nora stood behind both of them and said, if you rip that bandage open, I will sew it shut while lecturing. Terrifying, I said. Great motivation. Eli pressed the first aid kit into Nora's arms like surrendering a child. He is your problem now. He always was, Nora said, then realized she had said it in front of Ava and Vivian. Ava's eyes cut to her. Vivian's mouth curved. I pointed at all 3 of them. No claim fights until I get back. If you need to threaten each other, use calendar invites. That got a laugh from the crowd. It also got 3 different glares. Perfect. The audience remembered I was alive under the scoreboard. The horn sounded. I ran. The first stretch was sand and heat. My ribs complained. My wrist pulsed under the wrap. The jacket moved the way I had promised it would. No decorative straps, no useless buttons, no softness asking to be grabbed. The big screen showed my live angle from a drone. Rex's commentary followed me. Let's see if masculine pockets can carry oxygen. I did not waste breath answering. At the rope climb, my arms burned by the third pull. The first morning's pathetic push-ups flashed through my memory. The studio mat, the instructor laughing, my body shaking. I climbed anyway because spite had become muscle memory. The crowd got louder with every inch. At the top, I looked down at the commentary platform and caught Rex's face on the big screen. He had expected a stumble. He got a sales moment. The order counter spiked again. I hit the cliff walk and saw the first wrong thing. One rude volunteer in a pale resort jacket looked away too fast from the rocks below Rex's platform. The official route flags were blue. The next flag tucked between two rocks was red. Too bright, too clean, too conveniently visible to the drone. A fake shortcut for a camera. Rex's voice came through the route speaker. Looks like Jace found the advanced marker. Bold men take bold paths. There it was, the overreach. I stopped in front of the red flag and looked straight at the nearest camera. Rex, I said, breathing hard, your shortcut has more makeup than your apologies. The crowd erupted. I kicked the red flag into the water and took the rough blue route across the rocks. That was the first sabotage backfire. Instead of making me look scared, it made me look sharper. Instead of proving Corbin's standard was costume bravery, it proved the clothes could take salt, rock, sweat, and petty fraud. The order counter went stupid. Rex's commentary cut out for 3 seconds. When his mic came back, he sounded too bright. Great instincts from Jace Corbin. Of course, some people get warnings from backstage. Vivian's voice snapped through the sponsored channel, loud enough for the stage speakers to catch part of it. Who cleared that marker? Rex's mic went hot at the worst possible time. It was supposed to draw Jace, not her, he hissed to someone near him. The audience heard enough. Not all of it. Enough! Then a red flare burned at the cave mouth below the cliff. Vivian moved first. I saw her from the upper trail, black jacket against pale rock, ignoring the stage coordinator, heading toward the cave because the red flare had been placed where a route camera could mistake it for my emergency signal. She thought I was inside. Rex had meant to lure me into a staged panic. Vivian took the bait because the one thing she hated more than being disobeyed was being late to danger with my name on it. That was when the trap stopped being content. A wave hit the cave mouth hard enough to throw white water over the rocks. The crowd noise changed. Ava shouted from the route gate. Vivian! Nora grabbed the medical radio from the stage coordinator. Stop the route! Clear the lower path! Now! The coordinator stammered about sponsor timing. Ava turned that Lind comm on her. Now! The coordinator moved. I had a clean path to the finish platform. I could have finished, let Vivian's own control problem swallow the humiliation, and told myself she had walked into danger because she refused to trust anyone else's competence. I could have paid Rex back by letting his sabotage hurt the wrong predator. For 1 second, the thought was there. The goddess would have liked it. Then Vivian disappeared into the cave. I turned around. The drone followed. The audience screamed because now they had their real story, the debtor going back for the woman who kept trying to own him. The cliff route down tore my palms open. I slid more than climbed, hit the lower rocks hard, and felt something hot split under the bandage on my side. Nora's voice crackled through a stage speaker, sharp and furious. Jace, do not enter without support. Then send support faster, I shouted. Ava was already moving toward the lower path, but her security held the crowd back while Nora forced the medical team to clear a lane. Ava and Nora were not competing over who got to touch me. They were making room for me to do what I had chosen. Ava used her family authority without turning it into a claim. I heard her tell Lynn's security to keep the cameras back, not to go in after me unless I called. Nora used her medical badge without making the injury a leash. I heard her snap at a stage assistant to bring blankets, rope, and lights instead of another statement for the live feed. For once, both of them protected the choice instead of replacing it. That was new, and new things were dangerous enough to deserve respect. That mattered, even from a man bad at gratitude. The cave swallowed the daylight in 3 steps. Salt water slapped around my ankles. Red flare smoke smeared the air. I heard Vivian before I saw her, not shouting, not panicking, just breathing through pain in the controlled way people use when they refuse to give fear a microphone. Vivian? I called. Jace? Her voice cracked on my name. That crack hit harder than it should have. I found her near a fallen rock shelf, one leg trapped beneath the slab that had shifted when the wave hit. Blood ran down her temple. Her hands were braced against the stone, but even Vivian Graves could not buy leverage from wet rock. She looked at me like she was furious I existed in the cave. Leave, Vivian said. Bad offer. Terrible timing. No black card attached. The tide is coming in. Then stop decorating the obvious. I got my shoulder under the edge of the slab and pushed. My ribs screamed. My wrist burned. The red moon mark flared under the wrap so hard red light leaked through the wet fabric. Vivian saw it. Her voice dropped. Jace, your mark. You can stare when you're not under furniture. She braced both hands and shoved with me. The slab shifted half an inch. Not enough. Water surged around my calves. Outside, Ava shouted something I could not hear clearly. Nora's voice answered. Security lights flashed at the cave mouth, but the path was too narrow for a crowd and too wet for a clean rescue. Of course it came down to ugly leverage. I slid the Corbin standard jacket off, twisted it into a strap, hooked it under Vivian's trapped leg, and pulled while she shoved against the rock. Fabric tore at one seam and held at the other. For a stupid second, I thought about the product page. Then the stone moved. Vivian yanked her leg free with a sound she tried to swallow. I caught her before she fell. The woman who had carried me out of a warehouse now had one arm over my shoulder, blood at her hairline, and no clean way to pretend this was dominance. I smiled, despite the pain. Asset preservation, I said. Vivian laughed once. It hurt her. Good. We staggered toward the cave mouth as another wave hit. Vivian was still stronger than most injured people had any right to be, but her leg folded twice. Each time I took more of her weight. Each time the red moon mark burned brighter. By the time daylight hit us, the live cameras had the shot. Ava stood on the rocks with her hands half raised, wanting to run in and smart enough not to block the exit. Nora stood beside her with bandages already open, her face pale under the professional calm. Rex was on the sponsor platform behind them, surrounded by stage staff and audience phones, yelling into a dead microphone. That flare was not supposed to. He stopped because the crowd heard enough again. This time, all of it. A stage security woman took the microphone from his hand. Rex tried to pull away, but the audience had already turned. Phones circled him, not me. His face did the same tiny public collapse I had seen in the cafeteria and courtyard, only worse now because the whole island knew he had wanted a humiliation clip and nearly made a death scene. No hearing, no investigation, no office. Just Rex Malloy dragged off the platform while his final sabotage destroyed the last platform he had. That was his ending. Not jail. Not paperwork. Public removal from the thing he loved most, being watched with admiration. The order counter behind the stage jumped so hard it glitched. Corbin Standard sold through its island stock while the founder bled through the sleeve and dragged Vivian Graves out of a cave in a torn jacket. Rex's trap had made me look braver. It had made Vivian look human. It had made Ava and Nora cooperate. It had made the Red Moon wake up. Because when Nora reached for my wrist to check the bleeding, the wrap split. The crescent mark underneath was no longer a crescent. It had opened into a red line down the center of my palm, pulsing like a heartbeat that did not belong to one person. Ava saw it. Vivian saw it. Nora saw it. For once, none of them claimed me. All three reached toward my hand, then stopped at the same time. Choice. The moon over Caldera Cay turned red in full daylight. The crowd noise vanished. The ocean froze mid-wave. The Red Moon goddess laughed from everywhere at once. Finally, she said, the pretty prize learned to bleed in public. Let us see who loves him enough to let him go. The island fell away before anyone could explain the mark. The dream trials began with my hand still bleeding and all three women standing close enough to save me, but not close enough to own the choice. The Red Moon trial did not begin with sleep. It began with the ocean stopping mid-wave. 1 second I was on Caldera Cay with salt water in my shoes, Vivian Graves leaning against my shoulder, Ava Lind and Nora Keene standing close enough to help and far enough not to grab, and Rex Malloy being dragged off the platform while his last sabotage burned down his brand. The next second, the whole island went silent. Not quiet. Silent. The cameras froze with their red lights still on. Later, every public feed would show the same useless thing, a red flash, a skipped breath of time, and corrupted audio that sounded like the ocean swallowing its own echo. The audience became a blurred wall of faces. Eli stood near the medical tent with his mouth open and a roll of bandages in one hand, trapped between panic and a very late prayer. The sky turned red. The Red Moon goddess stepped out of the frozen wave as if the ocean had been waiting to become her doorway. A trial does not wait for night when the choice finally arrives, she said. Vivian tried to straighten even with her injured leg. Ava moved 1 step in front of me. Nora's hand went toward my wrist, then stopped before touching the split mark. The goddess noticed the stops. Her smile widened. Look at that, she said. The cage has learned manners. I tried to step forward. My body did not move. Red light locked my feet to the wet stone. The mark in my palm opened like a second mouth. Pain shot up my arm and every woman around me reacted differently. Vivian looked for the mechanism. Ava looked for the door. Nora looked for the bleeding. That was them in one frame. The goddess laughed. Jace Corbin, you survived public desire, debt, rescue, sabotage, and 3 women mistaking concern for ownership. Better than I expected. Messier too. I enjoy messy. Let them go, I said. My voice came out rough, but it came out. The goddess tilted her head. Still giving orders while bleeding. Charming. Incomplete. You said become a real man. I made my choices. You made choices under pressure, the goddess said. Now they do. Ava's jaw tightened. Vivian's eyes narrowed. Nora's doctor calm disappeared completely. The goddess lifted one hand. Caldera K peeled away in red sheets. The sponsor stage, the cave, the frozen wave, the audience, the order counter, all of it pulled back like painted scenery. Underneath waited a black floor that reflected us from the ankles down. A circle of red mirrors rose around us. In each mirror, I saw a different version of myself. One in a Graves Tower penthouse, dressed too well and speaking too softly. One behind Willowmere estate gates, safe enough to become furniture. One at the Corbin Keene House kitchen table, smiling with eyes that did not know how to leave. My stomach turned. The goddess clapped once. 3 women, she said. 3 claims, 3 beautiful reasons to cage him. Let us stop pretending love is pure when fear does most of the building. Vivian stepped toward her. If this is another Red Moon fracture event, tell us the rules. Former soldier, the goddess said, amused. Still asking for rules before losing. Fine. Each of you will receive exactly what you wanted before you learn to hesitate. Keep him, and the world stops hurting him. Release him, and you may lose the version you love. Nora's face went white. Ava whispered, What version? The goddess looked at me instead of answering. That was the first warning. Then the first mirror opened under Vivian's feet. She vanished. So did I. Grace Tower rebuilt itself around me, not the office I had refused, not the vault where the Phoenix plate broke, but a private penthouse above the city with black glass, low lights, and silence bought by the floor. My wrist was clean, no red mark, no bruise, no warehouse cuts. A black card rested on the table beside a signed contract. My signature sat at the bottom. I tried to speak. The dream made my mouth smile instead. Whatever you think is best, my voice said. Vivian stood across from me in the penthouse doorway. She wore no blood, no salt water, no cave dust, perfect suit, perfect control. Her injured leg was healed. The city below looked obedient. Grave security waited beyond the door. The contract on the table gave her everything she had asked for in Graves Tower and more. Residential protection, companion approval, Red Moon Lab access, managed image, suspended debt. My body turned toward her before I told it to. That was when the fear got teeth. I was inside myself and not driving. Vivian saw it. At first, her face did what Vivian's face always did around leverage. It calculated. The goddess appeared in the window reflection behind her. There, the clean version. No knives, no warehouse, no Rex, no Ava arriving late, no Nora building family routes, no debt pressing his throat. He signs because he trusts you. He stays because you know best. My dream mouth said, I am safe with you. The words tasted like ash. Vivian's hand tightened around the contract. I forced air into my lungs and tried to move one finger. Nothing! My own body sat in the chair like an expensive answer to Vivian's oldest argument. The goddess walked behind my chair. He will not refuse. He will not embarrass you in public. He will not run toward caves, alleys, service lanes, or impossible debt. He will not make you late. Vivian looked at me. Not at my face, at my eyes. That mattered because my eyes were the only part of me still fighting. Jace, Vivian said. My dream mouth smiled again. Yes, Vivian, the old world part of me almost vomited. Vivian flinched. Small, real. The goddess's smile thinned. He is yours, isn't that what you kept trying to prove? Vivian stepped closer to the table. The black card gleamed beside the contract. The whole penthouse waited for her to pick up the easiest cage in the world. She touched the contract. For one terrible second, I thought she would take it. Then she tore it in half. The dream staggered. Vivian tore it again. Then she picked up the black card and snapped it against the table hard enough that the red mirror in the window cracked. If he cannot refuse me, Vivian said, voice cold and shaking under the cold, then he is not mine, he is gone. The goddess's expression sharpened. Vivian turned to the penthouse door and opened it herself. No security command, no assistant, no black card, no contract. The moment the door opened, my dream body gasped like it had been drowning politely. I fell out of the chair. Vivian caught my shoulder, then let go before the touch became a claim. Get out, she told me. The penthouse cracked around that word. Then, it shattered. I hit the black mirror floor on Caldera K's red reflection, gasping with my hand still bleeding. Vivian landed on one knee beside me, breathing hard, face pale from something worse than pain. She did not explain what she felt. She did not need to. The broken black card lay between us for 1 second before the floor swallowed it. I looked at Vivian. She looked back like she wanted to say the right thing and hated that the right thing existed. For 1 second, Vivian said, low enough that only the 3 of us heard it, I wanted the signed version. That confession hit harder than a denial would have. Ava's eyes moved to her. Nora's mouth tightened. Vivian did not soften under either look. Then I saw his eyes, Vivian said, and I understood I had won a room and lost the man. I did not thank her. Gratitude would have made the moment too clean. Instead, I forced my shaking hand flat against the black floor and pushed myself up. You hear that? I told the goddess. Even Vivian Graves figured out a signature without refusal is just decoration. Vivian's eyebrow lifted. Even? Take the compliment before I improve it. For half a breath, the red courtroom felt almost human. Then the goddess dragged the next cage open. The goddess looked less amused. One cage refused, she said. How dramatic. The heiress next. Ava disappeared. I went with her. Willamere Estate rose around us under a moonlit sky. The gates were closed. The house glowed warm behind the trees. No cameras, no campus whispers, no warehouse van, no Graves Tower, no Rex, no comments turning friendship into a scoreboard. Ava stood inside the gate with a silver key in her hand. I stood on the lawn beside her wearing a clean Corbin Standard jacket that had never torn. My hands were unwrapped. The red moon mark was gone again. Staff waited far enough away to be invisible unless summoned. Security lined the wall like a promise no one had to name. It was peaceful. That was what made it ugly. A staff member carried a tray across the lawn and asked Ava whether I would prefer dinner in the garden or inside. Another waited near the pool with a tablet showing a private exercise schedule, private media rules, private visitor access, private everything. The dream had built the safest version of Willamere Estate by removing the outside world one polite service at a time. The dream version of me did not object. That was the part that made Ava's hand tighten around the key. Ava had not wanted to own a stage or a contract. She had wanted one place where nothing reached me before she did. The dream understood her too well. It gave her a quiet house, careful staff, no comments on the screen, and a version of me who looked grateful to be hidden. A guard at the gate asked, "Should the road stay closed tonight?" The dream version of me answered before Ava could. "Yes, it is easier that way." Ava's eyes snapped to me. The real me was trapped behind that gentle answer, screaming without sound. That was when Ava understood the same thing Vivian had learned in the penthouse. A safe, yes, can still be a stolen no. The dream version of me looked at Ava and said, "I can stay here. No one reaches me at Willamere Estate." Ava's fingers tightened around the key. The goddess appeared beyond the gate, standing on the road outside like a woman asking to be denied entry. "You know loneliness, Ava Lind," the goddess said. "You know what it is to live in a fortress. Everyone envies but nobody enters cleanly." He entered. He saw the weapons, the tracker, the family name, and he still asked for friendship. "Keep him, lock the gate. You will never be first and then abandoned again." Ava looked at the house, then at me. The dream version of me smiled softly. "It's safe here." Ava stepped back like the word had touched a bruise. The goddess's trick became obvious. Vivian's cage had looked like control. Ava's looked like relief. No more public comments. No more cameras turning her care into gossip. No more arriving too late. No more warehouse guilt. No more watching Vivian carry what Ava wanted to protect. Just a gate, a key, and me agreeing to be the one friend who never left. I tried to speak. This time I managed one word. "Ava." Her eyes snapped to mine. The goddess turned her smile on me. "Careful. If she opens the gate, the world gets him again. Knives, debts, cameras, women who arrive faster, men who punish his friends. If she keeps him, he lives. Isn't that love?" Ava's hand shook around the key. Outside the gate, the road stretched into red fog. Inside, Willamere Estate waited with warm windows and locked safety. Ava walked to the gate. She put the key into the lock. For 1 second, she did not turn it. Then she looked back at the dream version of me. "A friend who cannot leave," Ava said, voice quiet and clear, "is part of the collection." She opened the gate. The whole estate groaned like a living thing being denied. Security stepped forward. Ava lifted one hand, and they stopped. Her own protection obeyed her restraint. The road opened. Wind rushed through Willamere Estate and blew out half the warm lights. The dream version of me stumbled, and I felt my real hand bleed again. Ava took my hand for one heartbeat, then she let go and pointed toward the road. "Go because you want to," she said. Willowmere shattered into red glass. I landed back on the black floor harder than before. Ava fell beside me, one hand still shaped around a key that was no longer there. Vivian reached toward her, stopped, and let Ava stand herself. 2 refusals. Ava stared at her empty hand. "I wanted the gate closed," she said. No one mocked her. She looked at me, ashamed and steady at once. "I wanted one place where I never arrived late." "I know," I said. "That does not excuse it." "No." She nodded like the clean answer hurt and helped at the same time. Then she stepped back, not away from me, but away from the space where a claim would have fit. That little retreat changed more than a speech. 2 refusals. The goddess was no longer smiling with her whole face. "How noble," she said. "How expensive. Now the homemaker." Nora did not flinch when the mirror took her. I did. The Corbin Keene house rebuilt itself around us. Warm kitchen, soft lights, soup on the stove, bandages lined up beside a clean plate. It should have felt safest because I knew every object in the room. Instead, it felt like the prettiest trap yet. Nora stood beside the table in her cardigan. No Cedarwell Medical Center badge, no public mask, no staged coworker, no mall corridor. Across from her sat another version of me. Not the dream version of me with my hard eyes, the softer Jace, the one from Vivian's old posts. Longer hair, gentler shoulders. Hands folded like he was trying not to be inconvenient. He looked 23 and tired in a way I had not earned the right to resent. My breath stopped. Nora's did too. The goddess appeared in the doorway with a satisfied little tilt of her head. There he is, the boy who needed you, the one who smiled when you brought soup, stayed when you waited, and did not look at home like a lock. Nora's face broke open. Not fully. Nora rarely gave anything fully unless she was weaponizing it. But enough. The soft Jace looked at her. Nora! One word. It almost destroyed her. He rose from the table with the careful grace I had seen in old clips. Not weak exactly. Trained to disturb nothing. He looked at the soup, the bandages, the extra chair set close to Nora's side, and smiled like every small kindness had been a rope he was grateful to hold. You found me again, he said. Nora's breath shook. I tried. I know. The words were not accusation. That made them worse. He looked at me then. Not with hatred. Not even fear. More like a man staring at a storm that had moved into his house and started opening windows. You made them look at me differently, he said. I forced one word through the dream pressure. Sorry, he gave a tiny smile. I did not say I hated it. That should not have hurt. It did. Because the man at the table was not a prop built for Nora. He was tired. He was gentle. He was part of the life I had been spending like found money. The goddess stepped beside him and placed one hand on his shoulder. I wanted to rip that hand off. My body could not move. You engineered a family route, the goddess said. Ugly, yes, but patient. Human. You loved the version who needed care. Then the stranger arrived, wearing his face, burning through every soft place you built. She was the original boy. Let the rude invader fade. Home becomes home again. Nora looked from him to me. Riverside Mall's full cost hit me without her explaining it. She had not only wanted control, she had wanted the person she remembered back from a change she did not understand. She had made that desire ugly. She had routed family around it. But grief had been under the scheme, and grief made cages feel justified to the person building them. The softer Jace reached for her hand. Nora took one step toward him. I could not blame her fast enough. That was the awful part. The goddess whispered, He will not leave. He never wanted to. Nora stopped. Her hand hovered over the softer Jace's fingers. Then she pulled it back. The softer Jace lowered his eyes. Nora made a sound like someone had struck her, and she refused to fall. I loved the boy who needed me, she said. The goddess smiled again. Nora turned toward me. But I will not murder the man who chooses. The kitchen lights flickered red. The goddess's smile vanished. Nora walked to the front door of the Corbin Keene house. It was locked with 3 deadbolts I had never seen in the real house. She opened them one by one. Each click shook the walls. Home does not count, Nora said, if he cannot leave it. The softer Jace looked up at her. I expected anger, jealousy, fear. Instead, he looked relieved. That scared me more. Then the kitchen shattered. Nora hit the black floor on both knees. Ava caught her elbow. Vivian reached toward me and stopped again. The 3 women looked at each other, not as allies exactly, not yet, but as people who had each chosen to lose the easiest version of what they wanted. The goddess stood in the center of the mirrors, red light crawling over her face. 3 cages refused, I said, forcing myself upright. You lost, she laughed. This time, it was not amused. It was older than amusement. No, the Red Moon goddess said. Now the cruel math begins. The mirrors around us turned inward. Every reflection became me. Then every reflection split. One side showed the man I had been before the Red Moon, older in the eyes, rougher in the mouth, carrying memories from a world where my anger made sense. The other side showed Jace Corbin before me, soft hair, practiced smile, quiet shoulders, and a life full of people who had loved, managed, underestimated, protected, and failed him in different ways. The red moon mark in my palm opened down the center, turning into a split heart shape. Vivian whispered, 2 signatures, Ava whispered. He was still there. Nora covered her mouth with both hands and did not hide the tears fast enough. The goddess finally gave the answer she had held back since the first night in the mirror. The original Jace Corbin did not vanish, she said. He folded inward when the door opened. You did not steal an empty body. You entered a life already cracking. 2 selves jammed into one vessel. Assimilation was the world's correction, trying to choose which one survived. The floor moved under me. Not physically, worse. Morally. Every refusal I had made, every joke, every punch, every public face slap, every time I had claimed this body as mine, now had another man breathing somewhere behind it. I had not known. That did not make the cost disappear. Vivian's face looked stripped of strategy. Ava looked sick with the thought of the quiet friend she had never fully met. Nora looked like the confession had reached back and cut her years late. I looked at the goddess. Why tell us now? She smiled with no warmth. Because all three women chose your freedom over ownership. That makes the old game boring. A fair game requires a harder choice. Fuse, and neither man remains untouched. Refuse, and the Red Moon will choose one when the next wave arrives. Fuse how? Vivian said. What is the cost? The goddess looked pleased that someone finally asked like a strategist. Memory, shape, certainty. The old world man will not stay pure. The original will not stay hidden. Everyone who loved a convenient version will lose it. Ava looked at me. And if he refuses? Then the next Red Moon chooses for him, the goddess said. Worlds hate unfinished accounts. Nora wiped her face with the back of her hand, then lowered it, done pretending the tears were not there. So the choice is transformation or execution by moonlight. Such an ugly medical summary, the goddess said. Accurate, Nora answered, and for once the goddess had no quick smile ready. The mirrors behind her opened into one larger mirror. A shape stood on the other side. My face, softer, tired, alive. The original Jace Corbin lifted one hand to the glass. The three women reacted before I could. Vivian stepped closer like she could interrogate the mirror into obedience. Ava covered the lower half of her face, eyes wide with the grief of realizing the first friend she met had been two people in one body. Nora reached toward the glass and stopped so hard her fingers curled into her own palm. The softer man on the other side noticed that stop. He looked at Nora first. She whispered, Jace! He gave her a smile that belonged to old kitchens, hospital events, and all the years she had turned into a route back to him. Then his eyes moved to Vivian, and something like embarrassment crossed his face, quick and painful, as if he remembered every old post she had put on her wall. When he looked at Ava, he seemed almost confused by her sadness, like he did not know he had been someone she could lose. Then he looked at me. Same face, different weather behind it. His voice came through like it had traveled a very long way to say something simple. You're louder than I expected, he said. The final choice was waiting on the other side of the mirror, and the mirror was already opening, red and hungry. The Red Moon mirror opened, and the man whose life I had been spending stepped through. Same face, same body, different damage. The original Jace Corbin stood on the other side of the glass with soft hair, tired eyes, and a posture that looked polite until you understood it was armor. He did not look like a villain. He did not look like a ghost. He looked like a man who had spent his whole life being praised for becoming smaller and had finally run out of places to fold. I hated that he made it harder to hate myself. He looked me up and down, taking in the torn Corbin standard jacket, the blood on my sleeve, the open mark in my palm, and the three women behind me. You really made a mess, he said. You left me a soft closet and 100 people with opinions about my wrists. His mouth moved like he almost smiled. Fair. Behind me, Nora made a small sound. Not dramatic. Worse, controlled pain leaking through fingers. The original Jace looked past me to her. Nora, he said. She stood frozen beside Ava and Vivian, the woman who had engineered a family route now facing the boy she had tried to keep and the man she had tried to trap. I thought I lost you, Nora whispered. You did, he said gently. A little before the moon, a lot after. That line hit her harder than accusation. Ava's eyes shone, but she stayed quiet. Vivian watched with the stillness of a woman cataloging every cost in the room and finding no clean asset to seize. The Red Moon goddess leaned against the mirror frame like this was theater she had paid for with other people's nerves. Touching, she said. Now decide which Jace Corbin gets to remain useful. I looked at her. You are very committed to making murder sound like administration. The original Jace laughed once, weak and surprised. That laugh did something strange inside my chest. It did not feel foreign. That was the first sign the fusion had already started. The goddess lifted one finger. The mirror floor split into two red paths. One led behind me, back toward Caldera K, Vivian, Ava, Nora, Eli, debt, cameras, orders, and every ugly thing I had fought to claim. The other led behind the original Jace into a quiet version of the Corbin Keen house, softer lights, safer clothes, no Red Moon mark, no public stage. Two men, the goddess said. One life. The old world intruder can keep the body and erase the softness. The original can reclaim his life and let the intruder become a memory. Or you confuse and lose the comfort of being certain who owns which wound. I vote you stop talking, I said. Brave, useless. The original Jace looked at the quiet house behind him. I saw the temptation before he said it. No debt, no Vivian's vault, No Rex, no Roxy, no warehouse, no island, no body being treated like public property because it had finally learned to stand up in public. Just a softer life returned to the man who had been born into it. He looked back at me. You think I loved cages? I swallowed. I thought you chose them. Sometimes I did. His voice stayed calm. That made it worse. Not because I liked the lock, because outside the lock was always someone bigger deciding I was safer if I never wanted anything loud. The red moon mirrors around us showed flashes with no explanation and no mercy. Younger Jace standing beside Mr. Corbin while women at a family event pinched his cheek and called him precious. A campus hallway where girls crowded him against a wall and laughed when he apologized for trying to pass. A message to Vivian Graves typed after midnight, not because he loved her, but because powerful women looked like shelter when the whole world trained you to fear being unguarded. Nora at a charity event, younger, scared, and sitting beside him while both of them pretended not to need anyone. The mirror showed me enough. Not a procedural history, a wound with receipts. The original Jace looked at me. You hated the softness because you woke up inside the result. I lived through the pressure that made it. I had no joke ready. Good. Some moments deserved my mouth shut. Then he looked at my bleeding hand. But you also did what I did not. You made them stop laughing. You made no sound like a word instead of a flirtation. You made Eli brave enough to throw a drink in a club. You made Ava open the gate. You made Vivian tear the contract. You made Nora unlock the door. They chose that, because you kept forcing the choice into the room. The goddess sighed. How sentimental. Choose. The original Jace ignored her. He stepped closer to the glass until our reflections overlapped. If I take it all back, he said, I survive. But I go back with your courage haunting me. If I take it all, I said, I survive. But I turn you into a body-shaped apology. And if we fuse, the goddess smiled, then neither of you gets to pretend he was the only real one. The price slid under my ribs, not pain, not death, something meaner, humility. The old world me wanted to be the obvious hero, the man who arrived, refused the script, took the body, saved the day, set the terms. The original Jace forced me to admit I had been using his life like a stolen car with sentimental upholstery. The original wanted safety. I forced him to admit safety without choice had been killing him quietly. The hidden leverage had never been. Only my gaming hands, old-world instincts, public defiance, or Corbin Standards money. It was both of us, his memory of this world's wounds, my refusal to keep bowing to them, two incomplete men inside one impossible life. I put my bleeding palm against the mirror. The original Jace put his hand against mine from the other side. Nora took one step forward. Ava caught her wrist gently, not to stop her from caring, but to stop her from interrupting the choice. Vivian's hand flexed once at her side and stayed there. Three women who wanted to grab me held still. Their hands stayed empty. Mine was next. No erasing, I said. The original Jace nodded. No surrendering. The goddess's eyes brightened. Then break. The mirror shattered inward. Red glass passed through me without cutting skin and tore through places glass had no business reaching. Memory hit first. Mr. Corbin teaching small Jace how to tie a tie with gentle hands. Eli apologizing to a vending machine in their first week at Hudson Ridge Business Institute. Nora at a charity event with younger eyes. Ava's family name whispered like weather. Vivian on a stage before she ever knew I existed. Every old post, every old surrender, every old hunger to be chosen by someone stronger because choosing yourself had never seemed safe. Then my memories hit back. The old world. Work rough hands, the red moon above my old window, the beauty consultant's wrist in my grip, the sealed bottle dying in my hands, Rex swallowing pride in public, Roxy's knife hitting the floor, Vivian's contract tearing, Ava's gate opening, Nora's deadbolts clicking free. The two sets of memories did not line up neatly. They fought, they burned, then, very slowly, they stopped trying to win and started becoming mine. I fell through the mirror and landed on wet stone. Real stone, Caldera K. Sound returned all at once. The ocean crashed. The crowd screamed. Eli yelled my name. Nora cursed like a medical professional who had temporarily abandoned bedside manner. Ava dropped to one knee beside me. Vivian, still injured, tried to stand too fast and nearly folded. My palm was no longer open. The red moon mark had changed. The crescent was gone. The split heart line had closed into a red scar across the center of my palm. Dull, real, and mine. Not a leash, not a game token. A healed cut with a bad attitude. I flexed my hand. It hurt. That was comforting. Pain meant I still had ownership of the body receiving it. Eli stumbled into view, eyes wide and wet. Jace? I looked at him and remembered two first meetings at once. one where he had been the safe friend assigned to a soft boy, one where he had become the only man brave enough to throw a drink in a club because I was too stupid to leave without him. Eli, I said, you still apologize to furniture. He made a broken sound between a laugh and a sob. It's him, horrible, confirmed. Nora reached for my wrist, then stopped. May I? I gave her my hand. Her fingers shook when she touched the scar. The mark closed, she said. Not closed, Vivian said from behind her. Changed. Of course Vivian recovered strategy first. Ava looked at my face with a fear she did not try to hide. Are you still, you? That question deserved a better answer than a joke. It got both. Unfortunately, I said. Then I looked at all three women, and more accurately, Nora's eyes filled again. She did not reach for me beyond the medical check. Good, Vivian did. She stopped herself half an inch from my shoulder. Then she said the wrong thing for the right reason. He comes to Red Moon Lab. Now. Ava stood. No, he comes to Willowmere Estate where no one touches him until he decides. Nora rose between them with my blood on her gloves. He comes home because someone has to make sure both of you do not turn trauma into logistics. There they were. 3 women, 3 claims, same old song, better outfits. I sat up before the argument grew legs. Stop! The word hit harder than it used to, not louder. Heavier. Vivian went still. Ava looked at me. Nora closed her mouth. The crowd noise faded around the ring of us. Cameras were still recording. The order counter was still frozen behind a glitching sponsor screen. Rex was gone from the platform, finally removed from the story he kept trying to own. The red moon hung above Caldera Cay in broad daylight like an uninvited witness. I stood. Slowly, because fusion did not fix bruised ribs or pride injuries. I just fused 2 men to get away from cages, I said. Do not build 3 in front of me before the scar dries, Eli whispered. Excellent boundary, disgusting timing. I pointed at him. You get a vote after you stop looking like a drowned accountant. He wiped his face. Fair. Then I faced Vivian first because she would push hardest if I let her become last. Vivian, I said, no cages, no locked rooms, no Red Moon Lab without my consent, no contract that calls my body protection, image, access, or asset, no using the Phoenix Plate debt to buy nights, rights, or silence. Her jaw tightened. The debt remains. Yes, I said, as debt, not as a collar. I turned to Ava. Ava, no gates around me because you are scared. No Lynn security deciding where I stand unless I ask. If I walk into danger, you can argue. You cannot turn care into a wall. Ava swallowed. I can learn that. Good. Learn loudly enough for your guards. Then Nora. That one hurt differently. Nora. No family routes, no staged rescues, no using home to make my choices feel rude. If you want me, say want. If you care, care without hiding a lock under the soup. Nora flinched. Then she nodded. Yes, no joke. No doctor smile. Just yes. The red moon scar warmed, but it did not burn. I looked at all 3 of them. No threats to Eli, no secret contracts, no public claims I did not consent to. No one pays my way into a smaller life and calls it love. My no stands. My yes belongs to me. Those are the terms. Vivian looked at Ava. Ava looked at Nora. Nora looked at Vivian. For 1 second, I could see the old competition wanting to come back. Vivian hated sharing command. Ava hated arriving late. Nora hated losing the domestic center. None of that vanished because they had made one good choice in a dream. Good. I did not want saints. I wanted adults with doors. Vivian spoke first. And if I refuse? Then you get paid slower and see me less. Her eyes narrowed. That is a threat. No, that is a forecast. You like those. Ava turned away so I would not see her smile. Nora did not bother hiding hers. Vivian exhaled through her nose, irritated, injured, and alive because I had gone back into the cave. The Phoenix Plate, she said. You still owe me $100 million. I owe the debt, I said. I do not owe the body. I held up my scarred palm before she could answer. The plate broke into 3 clean pieces. Ava's antique dealer said the number was real, not that the damage was hopeless. You said your family protected it through fire because some things are too stubborn to burn. Fine, then we repair it. Publicly, correctly. Corbin Standard backs the restoration, not Jace Corbin's neck. I put equity and future revenue behind the work. Graves Media can stream the repair story if it wants money instead of ownership. You get the Phoenix Plate back with the brake lines visible because surviving the break is now part of its value. Vivian stared at me. Her eyes moved from my scar to the cameras, then to the order counter still blinking behind us. The route was ugly, public, and hard to control. Clean breaks, order spikes, the public rescue, the debt, the brand, and an audience that had seen the red moon flash before watching me refuse ownership after the world snapped back. The Phoenix Plate had been a leash because Vivian made it private. I made the repair public. Ava stepped beside me. The clean breaks matter. I heard the dealer say it. Nora stripped off her medical gloves and tossed them into the kit. And I will witness that no medical or personal consent is tied to debt terms. If anyone tries to hide it in pretty language, I will translate it in the ugliest possible words. Eli raised a hand weakly. I will also witness, mostly with offended noises. Vivian looked at each of them, then back at me. The old Vivian would have tried to turn the audience, the debt, the scar, and the partnership into a new cage before the salt dried. Vivian had torn a contract in a dream because a version of me that could not refuse was not a win. She reached into her coat and pulled out her copy of the folded debt note. Same number. The $100 million number sat there like an old curse with nice handwriting. Vivian tore off the bottom line under her original condition and wrote one word across the back. Restoration. Then she handed it to me. Debt remains, Vivian said. Ownership claim removed. Red Moon Lab access by your consent. Graves Media partnership by your signature, not your body. And if I say no? Her mouth curved. Then I will be furious and negotiate like a civilized monster. Progress. Ava's shoulders lowered. Nora looked like she might cry again and was deeply offended by her own face. Vivian looked at Ava and Nora. I do not share command. Good, I said. No one asked you to command. Ava's voice came quiet but steady. I do not want to own a title. I want the right to ask and hear the answer. Nora laughed once, sharp with leftover tears. I want a title. I am just done stealing the route to one. That honesty almost knocked me over worse than the fusion. I looked at the three of them, and the cameras kept rolling because of course the world wanted the exact shape of my disaster. No titles today, I said. No secret hierarchy. No one-woman victory lap for the comments. If we build anything after this, it starts with doors open, answers spoken, and everyone free to leave without turning the next hallway into a trap. Vivian said, That sounds inefficient. So was the cave rescue. You liked that one. Ava looked down to hide a smile. Nora did not hide hers at all. The public wanted a winner. I gave them terms. It was less clean. It was more adult. Eli whispered, Civilized monster is going on a shirt. It is not, I said. It absolutely is. The crowd beyond us finally found its voice again. Not because they understood everything. They did not. They had seen a cave rescue, a red flash, a time skip, Rex's removal, 3 powerful women standing down, Vivian Graves rewriting a debt note, and me holding up a scarred palm like a man who had just refused every label offered. They understood enough to cheer. The order counter on the big screen recovered from its glitch. Then it spiked again. Of course it did. Apparently fusing your soul and arguing down a CEO was great brand visibility. I looked at the counter and laughed because if I did not laugh, I might lie down in the sand and become a local landmark. Vivian followed my gaze. You are underpriced, Ava said. He is bleeding. Nora said. He is concussed by supernatural arrogance and capitalism, Eli said. I am also unwell, in case anyone tracks side character suffering. I looked at all 4 of them and felt the fused memories settle into something heavy but whole. The goddess had wanted one of us to become the prize, one of us to disappear, and the women to prove love by choosing ownership. Instead, Vivian tore the contract. Ava opened the gate. Nora unlocked the door. The original Jace refused to vanish. I refused to steal him, and the Red Moon had to accept a man made of both refusal and need. The goddess appeared one last time on the big screen, not visible to the crowd, only to us. Her red eyes shone from the glitching order counter. Very dramatic, she said. You stopped being a prize. Try not to become a tyrant with better slogans. Try not to kidnap people through moons, I said. Her smile returned. No promises. Then the screen cleared. The sky above Caldera K finally turned blue. Not everything ended on the island. Of course it did not. Real consequences are rude like that. Rex Malloy never recovered his old platform. The final clip of him yelling about the flare followed every attempt he made to rebuild soft authority. He could still post. He could still pose. But every comment section remembered the cave, and envy hates being archived. Roxy Slate did not become a romance, a tragic ally, or anything cute enough to excuse her. Graves' pressure kept her broken territory broken, and Corbin Standard's public safety policies made her kind of private room offer more expensive to hide. That was enough. The Phoenix plate did not magically unbreak. It was repaired over months with visible gold lines through the bird, the way Vivian hated at first, and then pretended had been her aesthetic preference all along. The restored plate became more famous because the break was no longer hidden. So did the debt route. Corbin Standard paid into the restoration. Graves Media made money from the story. I remained annoying and unsigned under any clause involving my body. Corbin Standard grew because the world had watched a man refuse the soft script, bleed in public, and still set terms. Men bought it because the pockets worked. Women bought it because they wanted to understand what kind of man made 3 powerful women stop mid-claim. I took both kinds of money and insulted them equally when needed. Mr. Corbin saw the scar on my palm 2 days after Calderake. He held my hand in the kitchen and looked at my face for a long time. "Are you my son?" he asked. The question deserved the whole truth, and no human father should have to swallow it all in one bite, so I gave him the truest answer I had. "Yes," I said. "More than before," he cried. I pretended not to see too much. Nora made soup and did not use it as leverage. Ava opened Willamere Estate's gates when I visited and let me leave without a security argument at least half the time, which for Ava counted as character development. Vivian negotiated like a civilized monster and lost fewer arguments than I wanted, but she stopped pretending protection without consent was a gift. They still competed. Of course they did. Vivian hated that Ava could calm me without a contract. Ava hated that Vivian knew the Red Moon scars better than anyone. Nora hated both of them when they forgot I needed food before philosophy. They argued over schedules, security, holidays, public appearances, training injuries, and which woman had the worst first impression. I told them the winner was the beauty consultant from the first morning, because at least she only brought a brush. Nobody laughed except Eli. That was fine. Eli had earned special privileges by surviving me. The future did not become quiet. Quiet was never the promise. The promise was that I would stop being handled like a prize and start setting the terms of the life everyone wanted to touch. Years later, after we chose the shape of our family slower than gossip wanted, the first Red Moon child born into our chaos opened a locked nursery door before she could properly walk. The Red Moon had not ended with me. It had learned bloodlines. 3 powerful households panicked at once. Vivian reached for Red Moon lab protocols. Ava called for Willamere security. Nora picked up the child, checked her pulse, and told both women to wash their hands before touching anything. I looked at the tiny red crescent glowing on a palm smaller than my thumb and said, the only useful thing a father in my position could say. Nobody labels her before lunch. From the window, the moon flashed red for 1 heartbeat. The Red Moon goddess smiled from somewhere behind it. She had lost the main game. She had not stopped playing. But I was not the man from my old world anymore, and I was not the soft Jace Corbin this world had tried to finish. I was both. That made every woman, every company, every goddess, and every locked door a little less certain. Good. I stopped being a prize. I became the man who set the terms.